Barbie can be anything, so Mimi can be anything. I've already been a fashion tycoon and a thirsty bartender, but in this full-length, 224-day-long movie, I'm a knowledge-hungry scientist wannabe, trying to find out as much as I can about the new 1.6 update in Stardew Valley, and achieve perfection. And y'all, there's a lot to discover. Make sure to let me know if I missed anything, and if you enjoyed the video, you might want to consider subscribing, because I'm already editing my next 100-day adventure. Alrighty, let's get into it. Eureka Farm might not be what you expect. It's a Riverland farm, which now comes with a fish smoker from the very start. But that means no Meadowlands farm, no hay, no bluegrass, or starter chickens for me. While preparing a little spot for my seeds, the new UI caught my eye. What's all this down here? I can craft a text sign? There's an animal tab? The wallet items are now in a special powers tab with new stuff? I just started playing and have so many questions. I put the sign right next to the entrance of my farm and inscribed it with the words Scientia Potentia Est, or knowledge is power, which is a phrase that's normally attributed to Sir Francis Bacon, who was an English philosopher and led the advancement of the scientific method in the 17th century. In town, I looked at the calendar and made even more discoveries. There was a little hot air balloon icon that just said bookseller, and 3 grayed out stars from the 15th to the 17th. Very interesting. Pierre sold me a green bean starter, then I foraged and scythed fiber looking for mixed seeds. That's when I found a little door in Cindersap Forest, telling me only the master of the 5 ways could enter. If I had to guess, I'd say it's referring to getting level 10 in all 5 skills, so I'm gonna try my hardest to level up as quickly as possible. Also, there were these new huge trees at the top of Cindersap Forest, as well as the spot behind Jojamart that definitely wasn't here before, and it looks like these stumps are blocking the path to something. And finally, at the end of this very busy day full of new insights, I got a notification saying I had ideas to sleep on. Well, no duh, but what exactly does it mean? I planted all the seeds, shipped everything I owned, and went to bed. Level 1 foraging. On day 2, my brain had a little break as I watered my crops, made a second chest, and headed to the ocean, where Willie was waiting to give me his old fishing rod. Nothing changed here. But when I went to buy the training rod, I saw the fish smoker recipe, which requires different kinds of jellies, eel bait, which I guess ups the bite rate of eels, and this cute new fish decoration. There was also a bobber-style machine with lots of different bobbers to unlock. I don't know why, but this made me very excited. Then I spent the whole day fishing at the ocean, hoping to get coals from treasure chests to be able to start smoking fish soon. At some point, I had more ideas to sleep on, and I think it's the level up notification because I saw I was at level 1 fishing. Another new but also kind of old thing was that when I found a geode in a treasure chest, I got the little animation holding it above my head, which used to only happen when you mined the first one out of a rock. I didn't want to pass out today since I was pretty rich, so I headed home and shipped what I could. Got levels 1, 2, and 3 fishing. Lewis was asking for a leek on day 3. No problemo. There was a bubble spot that I fished at until Willie opened his doors, where I pulled up one of the new sea jellies needed to craft fish smokers. Once he let me in, I bought the fiberglass rod and some bait, then fished at the river while smoking my haul, since it'll double my profits. I was very surprised to see that Joja Cola is actually kind of useful now. It gives a short speed buff. I also found the river jelly and had 4 smoked and 1 unsmoked catfish by the end of the day. Level 4 fishing surprised me with this new crafting recipe for deluxe bait, and at level 5 I chose the Fisher perk. Hello, Clint. Lewis got his leek, and that's when I noticed this new ticket machine in his home. It looks like you can trade tickets for prizes, and the first one looked like carrot seeds, which was very intriguing. Sadly, I didn't know how to get my hands on a ticket quite yet, so I just spent my day fishing again, this time at the lake. Today, I found a very special treasure chest. It had some of the new deluxe bait and a book, which made my inquisitive heart very happy. It was called Jewels of the Sea, and reading it earned me the ability to find roe in treasure chests. That's such a cool feature. I tried out the new bait, which is supposed to make fish bite faster, and make your fishing bar a bit bigger, which was also really nice. The crop fairy visited my farm that night and sprinkled her magic on the last 3 crops that weren't fully grown. I reached level 6 in fishing, giving me 2 more new crafting recipes, a bait maker and a sonar bobber. The surprise visit from Marnie on day 5 was super exciting. She brought me my brand new white kitty that I called Einstein, like Albert Einstein, who's most famous for his equation E equals mc squared. Apparently, this means that mass and energy are the same physical entity and can be converted into each other. Whereas before Einstein's discovery, people assumed they were two completely different things. I'm sure you'll grow up to be just as smart as your namesake, little Einstein. After harvesting everything, I checked the traveling cart lady who wasn't selling anything interesting, then Lewis showed me the rundown community center. Something that didn't change in 1.6 was that I still couldn't decipher the Junomoish at first glance, so I went to the mines instead, despite the very bad luck of the day. Lucky for me, it went pretty well, and I found a glow ring and got an iron dirk from the chest on level 10. I don't know what it is about daggers, but they feel so much more brutal. Passed out on level 16 and got level 1 in farming, mining, and combat. When I met the wizard on day 6, I wasn't really sure how I felt about his unconventional teaching practices, but it seemed to work because I was now able to understand the language of the Junimos and hand in the spring forage. I took a look at the crop bundles and saw something new. A carrot for the spring bundle as well as a summer squash. New bundles with new crops, woohoo! Robin was asking for someone to collect stones for her, which went well with my mining plans for the day. While gathering them, I saw a little tracker pop up telling me how many I had already collected, which is very handy. A special slime dropped sneakers for me, and there was a steel small sword in the chest on level 20. I made it to level 30 before 2 AM rolled around and got level 2 in foraging and mining. The spring seeds were planted on day 7, and here's another small 1.6 innovation I haven't talked about yet. Joja has its own stationery. I was super excited and super sad at the same time to see that the traveling cart lady was selling a red fez. Yes, I want to dress like your pig. No, I don't have 8,000 gold lying around. Then I sold all my veggies and smoked fish to Pierre and committed the ultimate Stardew crime. I bought into Joja.
Bruh.
I know, we all hate it, but I had plans that just wouldn't work if I went the community center route. Then I spent the rest of the day making money for the cause, fishing at the lake and smoking largemouth bass. I pulled up a treasure chest with a sonar bobber, but I didn't have an iridium rod and thus couldn't try it out just yet. Today also marks the beginning of a long-term project I wanted to work on. Every self-respecting person working in the scientific field wants their findings published in a journal, so I decided to start my own, Stardew Valley style with signs. I'll make a new one for each book I read, and today's entry is dedicated to the Jewels of the Sea book. It says fancy people do caviar bumps. They put caviar on the back of their hand and lick it off, allegedly because they don't want the taste adulterated by chips or whatever else you use to eat caviar. I mean, most spoons have a pretty neutral flavor, but what do I know? Level 7 fishing. Day 8 was more of the same, fishing at the lake and smoking whatever I could. I found a Combat Quarterly, which grants some combat XP, and another issue of the Jewels of the Sea book, which just gave me more fishing XP. By the way, I won't be adding these types of books to the journal, only those that give you special powers. That night, I had reached level 2 combat without slaying a single enemy, as well as level 8 fishing, giving me the crafting recipe for a deluxe worm bin. It was raining on day 9, and after finally crafting a scarecrow, I wanted to catch as many catfish as I could. I had to take a quick break to get more bait, but Willie wasn't tending his shop. The bobber machine now had different kinds of bobber styles to choose from, and I decided to go with the random one. After walking all the way up to the mines to get bug meat to turn into bait, I had an unnatural amount of fun watching my bobber turn different colors every time I cast my rod. 2 dig spots I found on day 10 were especially wiggly, and they gifted me with the new carrot seeds. Of course, I immediately planted them before going back to the mines. The goal was to get more coal to be able to smoke more fish, but of course I also won't say no to an ancient seed. Made it all the way through the dark floors and down to level 45 today. A help wanted quest on day 11 got me real excited. Elliot was offering one of those new tickets for an iron bar. Of course I took on his quest, but I'll let you know right now, I won't be able to complete it because it'll be raining tomorrow and he won't come outside when it's raining. Shoot. But at least I know how to get the tickets now, and it makes these help wanted quests much more enticing. Gunther gave me an array of seeds for the stuff I donated to him, then it was back to spelunking. I got a silver saber on floor 50, but split while I still had a bit of time left in the day to plant the seeds and craft my first furnaces. I also shipped lots of stuff I had lying around to see how much money I could make. It was a lot. Got level 3 mining and level 3 combat. The rain on day 12 didn't stop Demetrius from visiting me and offering to set up a bat cave on my farm. Why can't you be like Demetrius, Elliot? The traveling cart had a red cabbage seed that I wouldn't need now that it was a Joja's sellout. I fished at the river and smoked catfish until I had ideas to sleep on, then booked it to Willie's to get the iridium rod, 2 trap bobbers, and 2 trout soups. On my way to the lake, I saw a hot air balloon sign and followed it to find the bookseller in his beautiful pop-up shop. He sells lots of cool new books that give you special powers. It was heartbreaking, but I didn't want to spend my money right now because I still had those Joja plans. So I left without buying anything. The trout soup brought me up to level 10 fishing, and I stayed at the lake until the legend finally took the bait. Back on the farm, I could physically feel the greed flowing through me while I smoked the legend. I hadn't even had time to ship it before passing out, but still got another 19,000 G. Smoked fish are the new tea saplings. It was time for the good old egg hunt on day 13, and I came outside to find the smoked legend. The excitement to find out how much it would be worth only slightly outweighed the shame I felt while throwing it in the shipping bin. My first carrots were grown, which are a great source of energy, so I snacked on one while preparing the land for strawberries. I wouldn't go all out on seeds like I normally do, since I wanted to buy the first Joja bundle tomorrow, so this would be plenty of room. The egg festival was the same as always, and I made sure to talk to everyone and buy 41 strawberry seeds before finding 11 eggs and winning the straw hat. I slept like a baby that night, making 20,000 G, 18,000 of which were just from the legend. Imagine how much it would have been worth if I had level 10 fishing and farming. Good gracious. The spring forage was fully grown, turned back into seeds, and replanted on day 14. I was so disappointed to find out that Harvey wanted a cauliflower I had just shipped in exchange for a ticket. Dang it. Once again, the traveling cart lady was selling something new, exciting, and much too expensive. A retro catalog. Buying the bus repair for Morris made me feel a bit better about not being able to get it, and I also purchased a backpack upgrade from Pierre. In the mines, a houseplant of all things dropped from an enemy. Okay. I made it to level 60 with an iron edge in the chest, but I decided to sell it to Marlin and get a wood mallet instead. Passed out on level 66 at 2 AM. Morris and his workers fixed the bus, and I got level 3 foraging, giving me a new recipe for moss soup, and level 4 mining. I was finally able to reap the biggest reward of selling out to Joja on day 15. It was time for the first annual Desert Festival. Get ready for loads of new and exciting things, y'all. First, I stepped into a box and got a new fit that felt a bit uninspired from Emily, then adopted a new cactus buddy. There was a race going on with the cutest little critters, and I bet on Cactus Crawler, but didn't stick around. Instead, I checked out Evelyn's and Demetrius's wares that you can only get using the new calico eggs, then answered this scholar's questions. Surprisingly, I even correctly guessed how many steps I had taken, and got 50 eggs. Checking the trash can proved to be worth it, and I used some of the eggs to get a pumpkin soup from this shady fellow. The desert trader now has midnight beach beds and a dark piano that I desperately want. And I caught a scorpion carp and 3 sandfish for Willie, who gave me 25 more eggs. There was this dude who looks like he might have had a few too many uppers who made me a dish with rare fruit and garlic, called a warrior smoothie. I was pretty sure the hot sauce would have given me speed, but I felt like I needed to try something else, since my combat stats were still pretty low. It gave me more attack power and plus 3 luck. Nice. Marlin was offering different quests for the Skull Caverns. I took one to collect 12 Omni Geodes, and apparently I would get an egg rating depending on how far down I made it. There was something new next to the entrance, but I couldn't find out what it does. My dive went painfully slow, with absolutely no pickaxe upgrade whatsoever, barely any bombs, and my dinky wood mallet. It was honestly a recipe for disaster, and I died on level 7 in a swarm of serpents. But I only lost a few eggs and woke up in Harvey's makeshift desert hospital. I tried again for a bit, leaving shortly before midnight. Gil was a savage and gave me a single egg for my efforts. Little prizey, sheesh. At least the crop fairy was kind to me and insta-grew my strawberries. Level 4 Combat. I had gotten some cloth from mummies, so Emily gave me access to her sewing machine on day 16. I harvested the strawberries, put my prickly cutie in my house, then left my clothes in a chest at home before going to the festival again. Today's caveman outfit was much swaggier, but the dish I chose was less great. It was a superfood cake made of rare fruit and mushroom cream, but it only gave me a mining boost, even though I had been hoping for defense. I took the quest to slay 10 serpents, and today I found some of the calico statues in the cavern. One gave me 100 eggs, which was amazing, but another one made mummies angry, which was less great. The crystallarium and dino egg I found definitely made the trek worth my while, but I died when one of the frenzied mummies breathed on me on level 22. Today, I used the calico eggs to get Evelyn's cookie wallpaper, Sam's old guitar, which is a new club weapon that's definitely better than the wood mallet, and a velvet bow from Krobus's cousin. Gil was a little kinder to me today, then I headed home where I put down the crystallarium with a jade, put my new wallpaper up, and planted the kale seeds I had gotten from a chest in the Skull Caverns. Got level 2 farming and level 5 mining, obviously choosing the miner perk. Day 17 was the last day of the desert festival, and I don't know why, but the sight of me working my little pixelated calves while watering the crops made me chuckle. Einstein was rocking the velvet bow, and I love that pets can now wear hats. Emily had her own stall today and was selling a prismatic shard for an impossible 500 eggs. Since she was busy, Sandy dressed me in this very pink outfit. I tried getting to level 30 for my quest from Marlin and ate a rumpled fruit skin with hot sauce, thinking it might be best to try to outrun the monsters after all. Sam's old guitar puts out a good amount of damage, and I was making okay progress but had to flee when the mummies were angry again. I had to start all over, and at least the mummies also reset, but I was still going way too slow and left on level 15. Using the last 100 eggs I had, I got some of the new mystery boxes and a desert fireplace. Level 6 mining. After giving my house, Einstein, and myself little makeovers and watering the crops, I saw my chance at a ticket and took it right away. The mayor told me he hoped I wouldn't just try to help others to get prizes, but rather out of the goodness of my heart. Sure, of course, Lewis. My reward was another 12 carrot seeds, and I like how you get to see what comes next in the lineup. I opened geodes and the mystery boxes at Clint's. They were filled with random stuff that was okay, but I don't know if they're worth the calico eggs I paid for them. At least I had loads to donate to the museum, then asked for a copper pickaxe upgrade. The rest of the day was spent working on foraging, gathering salmon berries, and chopping trees. A shirt fell out of one, which is definitely new. Day 19 was more of the same, and I chopped trees literally all day long. I got another shirt drop, but it didn't match my pants, so I didn't put it on. I had reached level 4 foraging, which now gives you the recipe for a mushroom log. The next round of strawberries were ready for the picking on day 20. I took on Pam's quest to get her an amethyst, then sold my harvest to Pierre, picked up the pickaxe, and asked for an axe upgrade. I spent the day in the mines, ultimately making it down to level 85. Here's another exciting find, a book called the Monster Compendium that gives me a small chance to get extra loot from enemies. I'll just mention this right now, sometimes I forget to update my scientific journal on the farm for a few days, but know that eventually every book I find will be honored with its own sign. Got level 3 farming, level 7 mining, and level 5 combat, going with fighter. After picking lots of spring forage and strawberries and giving Pam the amethyst, I headed back into the mines. Sam's weapon is working pretty well, and even though I'm not a huge fan of clubs, it feels kind of metal to smash monsters over the head with the guitar. A slime dropped a party hat, making me look a little less metal, but whatever. Then I consumed the first of 7 star drops that would remind me of LLL, aka lifelong learning. Scientists and their abbreviations, am I right? There was a cudgel in a barrel with something I'm assuming is an enchant called Slime Slayer. I tried it out on the slime, but nothing spectacular happened, so I just continued to use Sam's guitar. Passed out looking for a ladder on 104, level 4 farming. Day 22 was rainy. I picked the carrots and kale, sold them to Pierre, picked up the copper axe, opened geodes, and got a copper hoe upgrade. After donating more minerals to the museum, I realized I had some stuff left over that I wanted to sell to Clint, so I went back and did so without thinking about it. But then I realized that that used to be impossible once he was working on a tool upgrade. Another great quality of life improvement. It goes without saying that I spent the rest of the day fishing for and smoking catfish, only taking a tiny break to catch an eel at the ocean. The next day was similar, except I harvested cauliflower, then fished at the lake, since it's generally the most profitable place to fish on sunny spring days. This would be the very first day I didn't discover something completely new to me, which is crazy, seeing as we're on day 23. I shipped my haul and a couple of things I had stashed away in chests, including 140 spring seeds before going to sleep, making over 12,000 G that night. Day 24 was the day of the flower dance. Normally, I just ignore this festival in my first year, but I was rich enough to be able to get the rare crow and crafting recipe, so I wouldn't skip it. Before going, I finally made a sign for the monster compendium that says Count Dracula was almost named Count Vampire? Wampire? Apparently, Bram Stoker ultimately went with Dracula because it means devil in Walatian, which is a Romanian dialect. Then I chopped some hardwood stumps and bushes before it was time to go. I made my purchases and watched the dance from the sidelines. Level 5 farming, went with the tiller perk. Another round of strawberries was ready on day 25, and after taking on Lewis's help wanted quest to slay 6 red slimes, I sold all the normal quality strawberries I had to Pierre to be able to afford the bridge repair. Clint handed me my copper hoe, and after opening some geodes and donating the artifacts I had gotten from fishing chests, I used my remaining gold to get a copper watering can upgrade. I noticed a secret little path next to Clint's shop with forage and a log and boulder blocking my path, so I'd have to come back with better tools. The bookseller was back in town, but I still couldn't afford anything. Instead, I dove into the mines to complete the Help Wanted quest and get further down, finding space boots in the chest on level 110. By the end of the day, I had made it to level 115 and got level 6 combat. Morris and his workers spent all night repairing the quarry bridge. After checking the uninteresting traveling cart stock on day 27, I spent most of this rainy day fishing at the river and smoking any catfish I caught. I only took a quick break to talk to Lewis for the reward money and bought a complete breakfast at the saloon I would give to Alex someday. I also saw that Demetrius wanted 4 sardines caught for a ticket, which I would get to work on tomorrow. The only other notable thing that happened was that there were not 1, but 2 more dino eggs in treasure chests. That night, I finally hit level 10 fishing, and chose the angler profession to be able to make even more money with my smoked fish. My thirst for knowledge was quenched on day 27 when I found a new book called Jack Be Nimble, Jack Be Thick, granting me +1 defense. Spicy. I crafted a sign right away this time. The epidermis is real-life armor. It's the outermost layer of skin and protects you from UV radiation, chemicals, viruses, bacteria, fungi, and all kinds of other stuff. Also, I found the new summer squash seeds and moss on a tree. I haven't talked about it yet, but most of the new crafting recipes require moss, which I had no idea how to get up until now. I'll have to keep my eyes peeled for more. After traversing the last 5 levels in the mines and claiming the skull key, I sold my smoked fish to Pierre, picked up the watering can, and asked for a steel pickaxe upgrade. I used 300 pieces of wood to fix the beach bridge, then fished for 4 sardines for Demetrius, who handed over the coveted ticket. It rewarded me with a peach sapling, which was perfect timing since it bears fruit in summer. I planted it but didn't like the placement, so I tried out the new feature of being able to move fruit tree saplings. This is so nice. Then I just tapped 3 trees at the bus stop before hitting the hay. I'm not sure if I was having a fever dream, but that night I saw Mr. Key in an airplane dropping mystery boxes, which can now be found. That's kind of vague, Mr. Key. I need more details. Where? How? Got level 5 foraging and chose Gatherer. The last day of spring was rainy. I picked the last strawberries before fishing for catfish again, since I wanted as much money as possible for summer seeds tomorrow. That's when I remembered there might be a new crafting recipe to help me maximize my profits, and crafted the bait maker, which is supposed to turn fish into targeted bait. I put a catfish into it, and from that point on, basically 95% of what I caught was catfish, 37 in total by midnight. I didn't have nearly enough time or coal to smoke all of them and was only able to smoke 15, but that was still amazing. Also, I got another ancient seed and a mystery box in treasure chests. Yay! On the first day of summer, I learned that you can now strafe while using upgraded tools. No more accidentally watering spots you didn't mean to. Clint handed me back my steel axe, then I bought 200 blueberry seeds, 1 tomato, a pepper, a couple of melons, and 10 hops, as well as the last backpack upgrade. I even had enough money left over to get the minecart repair at Joja Mart. I had so many seeds that I had to set up a third crop field on a new little island, and it literally took me all day to plant everything, watering the last ones with 10 minutes to spare. The Joja employees worked tirelessly through the night to get the minecarts fixed. Normally, I've already reached level 6 farming by the time summer rolls around, and it doesn't bother me too much to water my crops in spring and save my metal bars for quality sprinklers and kegs, but while watering everything for 6 hours straight on day 30, I started to curse myself for not having made the dang basic sprinklers for once. I decided to finally check out the quarry and found these amazing new cold nodes, which would be so helpful for fish smoking. I cleared it out, then went into the quarry mines where the skulls dropped a pirate's hat and a ruby ring. There was a boulder I can't break with my steel pickaxe blocking the entrance to a new path, so I'd have to come back some other time. The scythe at the end of the cave was still golden and not iridium, so I'll have to see if I can get it upgraded at Clint's. There was an earthquake during the night, giving me access to the railroad. Level 8 mining. Thankfully, day 31 was rainy. I decided to spend the whole day working on my fishing log. First, I caught a sturgeon at the lake, then moved to the ocean to spend the day there. Willie bought my haul off of me, meaning I had enough money to reinvest in a steel axe upgrade. I caught lots of new fish, including an octopus and the crimson fish, and felt kind of dirty again when I put it into the fish smoker. I also found another sonar bobber in a treasure chest and was able to try it out this time. It's neat in that it shows you which fish is on the hook, but if you've done enough fishing in this game, you already have a pretty good idea of which fish you're reeling in by the way it behaves. Plus, I can't really think of a good use for knowing which fish it is since you normally wouldn't cancel the catch, as you've already used a piece of bait, a bit of the life on your tackle, and your energy to cast the line. So you might as well just catch it, right? Once I caught a super cucumber for the luau soup, I headed to the mines to try to get the cave fish and a cave jelly, which I still haven't seen yet. I only got a ghost fish, but oh well. My haul netted me 13,000 G. Unfortunately, it wasn't raining anymore on day 32, so it was back to the 6-hour crop watering. The good thing was that I found the stick spot with another thick book, which granted me some combat experience. When I scythed some weeds in town, I found these mixed flower seeds, which I assumed would work similarly to the regular mixed seeds, just with flowers, and took a look at the sad Joja warehouse, but there was nothing interesting there. After selling some old weapons and gear to Marlin, I spent the rest of the night in the mines looking for dust sprites and ore. When I got home, I realized I had snagged an officer uniform that I put on for the time being. I swapped my steel axe for a gold pickaxe upgrade on day 33, then asked Robin to build a barn for me. It's kind of hard to find a good spot for buildings on such a fragmented layout, but I ended up putting it right here for now. Today was the day I discovered the big chest recipe she was selling. I couldn't afford it at the moment, but I bought all the path recipes and a calendar, since I'm really bad at remembering birthdays without the UI mod and have been sorely neglecting my relationships. The steel axe let me remove the big log and granted me access to the secret woods, where I chopped the stumps and caught the wood skip. Then I just chopped wood for the rest of the day. On day 34, I took the first real look at the summer calendar and realized that there would be a new festival called the Trout Derby, denoted by these cute fishing hooks. After picking the first pepper of the season and watering everything, I set up my trusty oak resin farm up at the railroad. Then I was off to chop more wood. The little goodies that fall out of trees make working on your foraging skills so much more enjoyable, and I reached level 6 that night. Day 35, the first summer squashes and a few stray radishes from mixed seeds had grown in, which I replaced with mixed flower seeds. I found 2 oak resins at the bus stop and a help wanted quest from Robin, who wanted 25 pieces of wood. My gold pickaxe was ready, and I opened more slightly boring mystery boxes. I kind of feel like the warp totem spawn rate is a bit too high. Then I spent the rest of the day in the mines gathering ores and coal. Day 36 was just spent fishing at the ocean for a quick buck, so that on day 37, after crafting as many bombs and lightning rods as I could to put down around the crops, I was able to buy 3 cows from Marnie. Newton, as in Isaac Newton, who made many influential scientific discoveries, but is most famous for his law of universal gravitation. Curie, as in Marie Curie, who discovered the radioactive elements radium and polonium and was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and Galileo, like Galilei, who is called the father of modern science and contributed to several advancements in the fields of math, physics, astronomy, and philosophy. It was a very lucky day, and I wanted to spend it in the Skull Caverns. I bought some cactus fruits from Sandy since I hadn't had the foresight to stock up on salads, then traded some diamonds and rubies for espressos and spicy eels. The weird shrine on the right of the Skull Caverns entrance still doesn't do anything, and I'm curious when it'll come into play. My run went marvelously. I found another crystallarium in a chest and 3 whole prismatic shards, among many other goodies. I left on level 99 in the last 10 minutes of the day to get my galaxy sword, level 9 mining, and level 7 combat. Yesterday's great success put me in such a good mood that I didn't even resent watering my crops as much on day 38. After more geode opening and museum donating, I handed Maru a birthday strawberry, then went to Robin's where I moved the pet bowl closer to my house, which is another new feature of 1.6, and commissioned a silo before trying my hand at fishing in the mines again. It went a lot better this time, and I caught a stonefish, an ice pip, and a new cave jelly. The lava eel didn't bite, but it was no biggie. My first ancient fruit was fully grown on day 39. He had sent me 10,000 G in the mail for making it to level 25 in the Skull Caverns, which was very kind of him. I wasn't finished watering before I had to leave for the luau. It was pretty normal for the most part while I just chatted to everyone and put a gold star cucumber into the pot. But what was unusual was one of the 2 achievements that popped up when the governor chowed down on it. It was a new one called an unforgettable soup that you get for adding one of the best possible ingredients. Super cucumbers never let me down. Once I was home, I watered the last field I hadn't been able to take care of this morning, and that night, I was pretty impressed to see how much a smoked ice pip is worth. Not only was day 40 rainy, but a few crops were ready to be harvested and I finally had some farming ideas to sleep on again, so I knew I would finally have access to quality sprinklers tomorrow. I pet my baby cows and realized I didn't have any hay for them, so after chopping the stumps in the secret woods, I was planning on buying some from Marnie, but got distracted by another mossy tree, which turned into a long tree chopping session in Cindersap Forest. I asked Clint to upgrade my watering can to steel and was able to trade a Jewels of the Sea book I had found for 3 cave jellies at the bookseller. I also bought the price catalog from him, the only book I could afford at the moment. Now I can always see how much my stuff is worth. The ocean had a green tint, so there were loads of forageables to pick up, then I plunked down my fish smoker and fished for the rest of the day.
Awooga.
Day 41 was a super lucky rainy day. The melons were ready to be picked, and I crafted the 10 sprinklers I could and put them in this field down here. Robin was finished with the silo, so I wanted to ask her to get started on a coop. But first I got to help Maru and Demetrius in their lab, which scratched my scientific itch. Demetrius was being weird, but I was more focused on titrating the solution like Maru had shown me. Then it was off to the Skull Caverns where I found a lucky ring in a barrel. Unfortunately, my luck seemed to wear off because I wasn't paying attention to my health and died. On the bright side, I had some time to make more furnaces and smelt through more ores for more sprinklers tomorrow. I came outside to lots going on day 42. The furnaces were finished smelting the ores, the blueberries were ready to be harvested, and I quickly had more ideas to sleep on. I also finally had mercy on my cows and gave them some hay before selling the blueberries to Pierre, buying the greenhouse repair at JojaMart, and picking up my upgraded watering can. I also remembered the little path next to Clint's shop, at the end of which I found a golden trash can with a book called The Alleyway Buffet in it, making it more likely to find loot when dumpster diving. I was able to craft 9 more sprinklers before I ran out of coal, so the rest of the evening was spent in the mines looking for more. That night, a little raccoon jumped out of the greenhouse being repaired by Morris. Level 7 farming. Evelyn taught me how to make garden pots, and Gunther gave me the rusty key on day 43. Then I planted some summer seeds on the spots where the melons used to be and watered the few things that weren't covered by sprinklers yet. I had been slacking on updating my improvised field log, so I added 2 signs to it. The first one was malls use the Groon transfer to make you buy stuff in commemoration of the price catalog. The Groon transfer describes how the intentionally confusing layouts of stores make you buy way more than you were originally planning on getting. Think of IKEA. The sign for the alleyway buffet says that the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is 3 times the size of France. It's true and disturbing, just a humongous trash island in the Pacific. Use less plastic, y'all. While cleaning up at the railroad, Woody's secret fell out of a tree I chopped down, meaning I had a 5% chance to get double the wood when chopping a tree, and now I'd have to add another sign to my collection very soon. But for now, I cleared off the quarry for more coal and was able to get rid of the boulder in the quarry mines, leading to a little path with these wizard skeletons and more coal nodes. 2 more shirts fell out of the flying skulls, and I decided to go with the polka dot one, which matched my hat better. By the end of the day, almost all of my crops were covered with sprinklers. Lovely. The spirits were very pleased on day 44. So after taking on a Help Wanted quest from Lewis to slay 6 red slimes and asking Clint to upgrade my hoe to steel, Pam drove me to the desert, where I dove back into the skull caverns. Not only was I looking for ores and coal, but I also wanted to work on my mining and combat skills. Lucky for me, the purple slimes also counted towards Lewis's quest, so it was quickly handled and I'd talk to him tomorrow to claim my prize. All in all, I got 3 more dino eggs, another crystallarium, a globe decoration, and a good amount of ores and coal. I reached level 10 mining, going with the prospector profession for now, and level 8 combat. After a quick visit to the secret woods, I bought a milk pail and 2 chickens from Marnie on day 45. Tesla, like Nikola Tesla, who invented alternating current electricity, which basically made all of our electricity-powered advancements possible, and Faraday, as in Michael Faraday, who also worked with electricity and invented the first electrical generator. After milking Newton, Curie, and Galileo for the first time, I crafted the very last sprinkler and 3 cheese presses. Clint opened my geodes and mystery boxes, which got me a mystery hat that looks very spiffy and shows how inquisitive I am. Lewis gave me my reward for slaying the slimes, then I saw Sandy wanted refined quartz, which was easy enough to do. After that, it was back to the mines to work on the dust sprite slaying. Got level 7 foraging. Another round of blueberries were ready to be picked on day 46. I took the money Pierre gave me for them and invested it at Joja to get the glittering boulder removed. Clint had finished working on my hoe, so I handed him my axe and 5 gold bars instead. I fished at the lake while waiting for Robin to get back from her doctor's appointment, and when she was walking past her counter, I used the opportunity to move the buildings around so the coop and barn would be next to each other, and I moved the greenhouse down here, then asked for a coop upgrade. Other than that, I just planted some mahogany tree seeds and fertilized my oak trees to make them grow faster. Morris got rid of the boulder that night, and I reached level 8 farming. While walking into town on day 47, Morris and his colleagues greeted me in front of the new Joja warehouse. I have to say, it feels very lifeless and much less celebratory with these dudes I've never seen before. But the reward, a Joja Cola vending machine, is actually kind of cool, especially now that it even gives you a speed buff. Demetrius wanted 3 tuna caught in exchange for a ticket, so after buying a few grass starters from Pierre, I went to the ocean to do that for him. Willie was looking at the gaping hole in the side of the mountain and just happened to have a pan in his backpack that he gifted me. You're the best, Willie. The ticket that Demetrius gave me only got me some boring mixed seeds, but the next 3 prizes were new and fun. Then I put down the grass starters for my animals and realized that decorating the farm would be pretty challenging, but I started small by putting down a bit of pathing around the barn, coop, and greenhouse. Before heading to bed, I made my first 4 kegs and filled them with some nice hops. My calendar told me that the new trout derby was on day 48. Willie had sent me a letter saying he had unlocked his back room, but I didn't have time for that today and didn't have enough hardwood anyways. I drank my first Coke from the vending machine to speed up my farm chores and saw that Tesla and Faraday had laid their first eggs. Clint gave me my gold axe, and I used the cash I had to buy some coal to be able to smoke the fish I would catch over the next 2 days. The trout derby was taking place in Cindersap Forest, where there were loads of these little NPCs fishing and a man in a tent who explained that rainbow trout can sometimes have golden tags that I could trade for prizes. So I put down the fish smoker and got to work. It took forever, and I thought I might be doing something wrong, even getting a broken trident before I got a golden tag. But I finally started finding some 7 hours after I had cast the first line. I had 7 tags by midnight and got some cool rewards, including a tent kit, a mounted trout, and some triple shot espressos. Made a nice earning with my fishing haul. The pale ales were already finished processing on day 49. I hung up the mounted trout, but didn't have lots of wall space to work with, so it's not going to get prettier than this for now. I found Pam in town and handed her one of the beers, then sold some other stuff to Pierre and wanted to buy the fish smoker recipe from Willie to be able to smoke fish faster, but he was off to participate himself. So instead, I checked the traveling cart and saw a Junimo catalog that I desperately wanted. But of course it was way too expensive, so I just got the rare seed instead. After chopping some hardwood in the secret woods for Willie's boat, it was another day of fishing at the river. This time I only had 5 tags by the end of the day, but before trading them in for prizes, I went home and made 2 more journal entries. The first one was for Woody's secret that says trees can't die of old age, which I actually never knew. The second one says fish are trees. Of course, that's not true, but I was inspired by all the fishing I had been doing and found out that you can tell how old a fish is by looking at how many rings it has on its scales, kind of like the rings of a tree's stump. How sad we have to kill so many things to find out how old they are. The best reward today was the swaggy new bucket hat. On day 50, the weather reporter on KOZU5 was talking about an anomalous reading for tomorrow's weather. That's weird. Lots of crops were ready to be picked, and I crafted a few mayo machines and finally remembered to incubate a dino egg in the newly upgraded coop. The blueberry money enabled me to get an iridium pickaxe upgrade, as well as the fish smoker recipe from Willie. Now I'll finally be able to craft more. The rest of the day was spent wood gathering. Level 9 farming. I woke up in an episode of The X-Files on day 51. Everything had this green hue to it, and the TV only showed green static. The rain outside was green too, and the whole farm was covered in strange new weeds, some of which were humongous and had to be scythed multiple times. The cool thing was that they dropped fiber and moss, so I knew I'd be swimming in it by nightfall. My mahogany trees were fully grown, and when I checked my mailbox, I saw I had gotten a letter from Gus, saying how he had seen the weather report and was offering everyone shelter at the saloon. Before I went there, I headed through Cindersap Forest, where I discovered these vine-looking things that dropped fiddlehead ferns, as well as these trees that everyone had been speculating about when Concerned Ape teased a picture of them. They dropped regular wood, but later I realized they also had these mossy seeds. Lots of the townsfolk were holed up in the saloon. Half of them were staying calm, while the other half thought the end was near. Demetrius was in a hazmat suit collecting samples, and his family was hiding out in the basement. I saw that my oak tree farm had fully grown in, but many of them had turned into the new tree type. I hope they also give oak resin. That night, I got a notification saying there had been a strong windstorm, and got level 8 foraging, which came with the new craftable. Looks like I can make my own tent kits now. Y'all, we're already halfway through the year and still finding so much new stuff. The next day, it was like nothing ever happened. Everything looked like it was back to normal, and I was worried that the windstorm might have destroyed something on the farm, but I couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. I planted the mahogany seeds I had, and thanks to the endless amounts of fiber, making enough tree fertilizer was a cinch. I had done some research on green rain in real life and added my findings to my journal. Apparently, something similar once happened in India, where many people also thought the green rain was a warning from God, but researchers detected that it was bee droppings that turned the rain green. Nature is weird like that sometimes. I went to Robin to get a barn upgrade, but first I tried out the new feature of being able to move your house. I quickly realized that on this farm it didn't really make sense to move it anywhere else, but I did move it back a few tiles to have a tiny bit more room. This is also the day I learned you can now move a full chest by axing it. This will make rearranging stuff so much easier. Then I just wanted to gather the last few pieces of hardwood to be able to repair Willie's boat when I saw that the sequoia tree in Cindersap Forest had turned into a stump, and it said to hand in 100 hardwood to turn it into a house. Of course I couldn't say no to that, so Ginger Island would just have to wait. The wizard was up at the railroad and asked me to retrieve his magical ink, and thankfully my oak resin farm had gone back to normal, so I was able to tap the first 6 trees. That night, I put down the next few bits of pathing on my farm and relished in being able to move the chests back and forth without much hassle. I added 2 more kegs to my little keg area on day 53, then went to Clint to pick up the iridium pickaxe and open some mystery boxes, netting me some espressos and this mystery wallpaper, and to ask for a steel pan upgrade. Ooh. The bookseller was back, but I still couldn't afford anything. Instead, I chopped the trees and stumps up here. While blindly clicking, I must have opened a box, because all of a sudden I had a prize ticket, which I was able to trade in for more mystery boxes. The greenhouse raccoon had moved into the new treehouse and wanted 5 mussels and a smoked bream. Sadly, I didn't have either of those right now, but I would get to work on it soon. Finally, I made a seed maker and turned the 2 ancient fruits I had into seeds, planting them in the greenhouse. Another round of blueberries were ready for the picking on day 54, which I immediately sold to Pierre. After handing Demetrius a melon he had asked for, I commissioned the final coop upgrade from Robin, then bought a duck called Tyson, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the most well-known astrophysicists of our time, and a goat named Gertrude, like Gertrude B. Elion, who was a biochemist and pharmacologist. She received a Nobel Prize for her work in the field of medicine and helped develop the first drugs against AIDS, as well as the first immunosuppressants, which are used when people get organ transplants. Jody doesn't have such an impressive resume, but I still gave her a cauliflower she wanted. Then I spent my evening looking for a good spot to set up a crafting area. I decided on this little island down here, but didn't finish before having to head to bed. I picked up exactly where I had left off the next day. Although I was happy to finally have organized chests, I already hated the place I had chosen for it, but it would have to do for now. On my way into town, I found some new broccoli seeds that I'd be able to plant in fall. Then I picked up the upgraded pan and put a few crab pots in the ocean to get the mussels for the raccoon. Afterwards, I decided to spend some time working on the Monster Slayer goals. Once I was done with the bugs, I went into the gold levels of the mines to deal with the void spirits, where a slime kindly dropped a prismatic shard. The last day of the season was spent harvesting the final summer crops, and I was able to plant another ancient seed. After that, I worked on the wizard's quest. I met Krobus for the first time, and he unlocked the mutant bug lair for me. Before heading in, I took a look at his stock, and besides the usual stuff, he was now selling butterfly powder, which he apparently used to get rid of pets, although I don't know why you'd ever want to do that. And the wizard's catalog. For the time being, I only bought the crystal path recipe, then got the talisman and fished for a slimejack before making my way to the witch's swamp. I spent 7 hours fishing for void mayo, but it just wouldn't bite. Looks like Mr. Ape has nuked the cat trait, so I'll have to get rid of the henchman some other day. Maru was doing some stargazing and invited me to take a peek through her telescope. Looking up into the endless expanse of space can make you feel very small and insignificant, but it's also a good reminder of how lucky you are to be alive, even if it's just for a short period of time, in comparison to the grand scheme of things. With my renewed sense of wonder, it was time for the annual dance of the Moonlight Jellies, which was just as beautiful and peaceful as always. The first day of fall went as it always does. I planted the 2 rare seeds and 9 pumpkin seeds I had lying around, then didn't bother to buy anything except for 100 cranberry seeds, since I just want to make as much money as possible right now. I need those furniture catalogs. Of course, that wouldn't be enough to fill up all the sprinkler spots, so I also planted all the mixed seeds and mixed flower seeds I had gathered on that apocalyptic green rain day. Other than that, I just chopped whatever stumps and trees I could find. The mayor and Robin introduced me to the newly installed special orders board on day 58, and I immediately noticed the little mailbox-looking thing next to it. I went with Demetrius's biome balance quest and found the first 3 mussels in the crab pots before starting to get to work on fishing. I don't know why, but seeing the different little bobbers each time I cast my line fills me with so much joy. I wasn't quite finished when I left for the day to catch Robin coming home from her aerobics class. I wanted to move my house, the pet bowl, and the shipping bin to be able to move the crafting area up near my house. I also bought a workbench, then started moving my inventory to a much better spot, in my opinion. A couple of the hardwood trees had grown in on day 59, meaning I finally had enough hardwood to get Lily's boat fixed up. Before I could go hand it in, I saw that Sandy wanted green algae in exchange for a ticket, so I took care of that first. I also decided to pick up a few beet seeds I would plant in the greenhouse. After handing in the boat materials, I finished up Demetrius's quest and was happy to see that the little mailbox next to the special orders board had a ticket waiting for me. I got a Star Drop tea, which is supposed to be a nice gift for anyone, and a blue pinstripe bed. I was also really excited to see that in 3 tickets' time, I'd get access to a new book. Since it was raining, I made sure to take some time to fish for a walleye, then hunted for the mutant carp and the angler. After crafting 2 more fish smokers, I continued my greedy legendary fish smoking streak, and luckily, I had also caught a bream to smoke for the raccoon. Willie and Robin repaired the boat overnight. I asked Robin for a house upgrade on day 60, and looking back on this footage, I kind of seem like a psychopath in how fast I just sell off the legendary fish sticks to Pierre without hesitation by now, not even stopping to look at how much they're worth. That's what capitalism will do to you, I guess. I donated a few more things to the museum, getting more espressos and another crystallarium, then it was off to the island. It seems like there's a new achievement for getting there, called a distant shore. It was already 3 p.m., and I was worried I wouldn't finish my walnut run in time to get the farmhouse, but I found some tent kits in the jungle, which was a nice surprise. I found the new Joja parrot that offered to find all of the walnuts for me for 1.2 million gold. I'm sorry, I don't have that kind of money right now, even after selling off multiple fish species that are now extinct thanks to me. I had brought some melon and wheat seeds that I planted, but I hadn't found a garlic at the traveling cart yet. At least that's normally the last crop the Gourmand Frog asks for. I hope it hasn't changed. Turns out my worries were unwarranted, as I had enough walnuts to restore the island farmhouse by midnight and was able to spend the last 2 hours of the day cleaning off as much of the farmland as I could before heading to bed. Day 61, I cleared off the rest of the farm and chopped trees, where I only later realized I had somehow found a star helmet and a snake vertebrae. Looks like you can now just randomly get vertebrae drops from rocks, which is amazing. Back on the mainland, Clint opened my golden coconuts and agreed to upgrade my hoe to gold. I was very excited to be able to feed the little trash panda, who gave me 25 broccoli seeds, and told me they now wanted to find a wife, which is adorable. The rest of the day was spent chopping the few trees left in the valley, and I used some of the wood to craft 9 more tappers for my oak trees. Some of them had turned weird again, and I couldn't tap them. By the way, it had been Elliot's birthday today, and despite having a calendar in my home, I've been really bad at remembering to hand out birthday gifts. Friendships might be a true grind next year. Got level 9 foraging. Day 62 was a very lucky rainy day, and the mixed seed eggplants had grown in. My baby dino had finally hatched, and I named her Mary, as in Mary Anning, a paleontologist in the 19th century who made many rare fossil discoveries. I wanted to go to the skull caverns, even though my bomb stash was looking kind of sad, and I wasn't even able to craft any. I traded 10 iridium bars for the desert warp recipe before diving in, kind of hoping to find the yellow dwarf scroll, which of course didn't drop today. At least I found a rabbit's foot and a prismatic shard. My house was bigger on day 63, and according to Dr. Foy from the University of Glasgow, having more living space makes you more satisfied with your housing situation, although only up to 4 rooms per person. I can definitely verify his research. What made me even happier was the fact that Einstein loved me. I love you too, buddy. There was another ancient fruit I was able to turn into a seed for my greenhouse, then Clint gave me back my hoe, and Robin agreed to build me a horse stable. Before Willie took me to the island, he told me he could smell I had been fishing in the sewers, and I mean, that's rude, dude. I'm sure I must have showered at some point since then. I wanted to try going through the volcano for the first time, but died immediately because I didn't bring any food. Luckily, I didn't lose anything, so I just fished for a bit before heading back to Pelican Town. Now that I had a second room, I decided to see what the mystery wallpaper looked like. If we're being honest, it looks pretty crazy, but I'll leave it for now. I had really great letters in the mail on day 64. Pierre told me he would now be selling bouquets, which was awesome, because I've decided I want to marry Maru in this playthrough. I think we both have very similar interests. And Marnie had sent me a letter saying I would be able to adopt pets from her now. since she had seen how well I've been taking care of Einstein. I would need to get a pet bowl from Robin first though, so I'd have to wait before being able to check that out. The first cranberries of the season were ready, and they finally put me over the threshold to level 10 farming. I took a help wanted quest from Sam to get him a topaz, sold the berries to Pierre, handed over the gemstone for the friendship more than anything, bought the new dehydrator recipe from Pierre to see what that was all about, and handed over my pan and 5 gold bars to Clint. Then I went to go see Maru, who showed me one of her new inventions that kind of electrocuted me. She was right, it did sort of kill the vibes, but it was all good, and I was happy to be able to give her the bouquet while we were in her lab and without her dad being there. Robin wanted me to collect 1,000 wood, which I would get to work on soon. Then I found a new shirt in a dig spot on the beach. It was raining on the island, meaning I found the first gem bird. Then I mustered up the courage to try my hand at the volcano again. I had come prepared this time, with a few crab cakes that make you a little quicker and give a little extra defense. It was worth it, as I found several cinder shards and dragon's teeth and realized the new coal nodes could also be found here. On level 5, I tried talking to the dwarf, but was reminded that I hadn't gotten the dwarvish translation guide yet. I passed out before making it to the forge, but that was okay. Got level 10 farming, choosing the artisan profession, as well as level 9 combat. The next day, I unlocked the dig site, let Professor Snail out of his little mushroom prison, then cleared it all out, not forgetting to snag the walnuts at the top. At some point, I also realized I had gotten a new party hat, the blue one this time. Then it was back to the volcano, where I found an ostrich egg in the chest on floor 9, and actually made it to the forge today. My first sword enchantment was vampiric, which is arguably one of the best enchants, and I made sure to add 2 rubies to it for more damage output. I had exactly 20 walnuts by the end of my run, unlocked the resort, and picked up the 3 walnuts there before warping home. There, I quickly picked the fully grown sunflowers, artichokes, and first broccolis, before hitting the hay. The beets were also grown on day 66. It took me a while, but at some point I realized I had a new horse, and named him Copernicus, like the mathematician and astronomer who first realized that the Earth revolves around the sun, not the other way around. He took me to the tunnel where I put a battery into the lockbox, then up to the railroad to hand in the rainbow shell. And finally, we hid a few beets in Lewis's fridge, even though it wasn't really a secret since he was standing right next to it. After picking up my pan and opening a few geodes, I sold some gems to Clint to be able to afford the gold watering can upgrade. Then I spent the rest of the day in the mines, working on my Dust Sprite slaying goals and my combat XP. The monster compendium I found helped with that as well. Basically, all of day 67 was spent working on Robin's resource rush quest, and I chopped down any tree I could find. I checked out the Hat Mouse's wares and saw some really cool new hats, the governor's hat and a paper hat, but I didn't want to spend my money on them right now. I also handed Linus' blackberry basket and did some blackberry gathering of my own. By the end of the day, I had gathered a little over 900 pieces of wood. The start to day 68 was slightly strange. I think Einstein coughed up a snail for me. After collecting the oak resin, I finished Robin's quest by buying the last few pieces of wood off of her, and also finally bought the big chest recipe. Clint was asking for someone to get him 40 copper ores, and I would see what I could do. The ticket from the special orders board got me 4 more preserves jars, which was a nice reward. Then it was off to Marnie to buy an auto grabber so I could finally ditch the milk pail, and I took a look at the pets that were up for adoption. I'm gonna get me a pet turtle someday, and if it's the last thing I do. I was also happy to see that the raccoon had actually found a wife, and they were hungry again. This time wanting dried plums and an apple jelly. It was a good thing I had gotten the dehydrator recipe and crafted one right away. You have to add 5 of whatever you want to dehydrate, and I was interested to see how it might bolster my profits. I didn't have an apple at the moment and was kind of worried about how long it might take to get one, since I don't have an apple tree. Then I dove into the mines to collect the copper ores for Clint. The prunes were waiting for me in the dehydrator, and more cranberries and the mixed seed fairy roses were grown and replaced with some fall seeds on day 69. After selling them to Pierre, I picked up the gold watering can, then went back to the island to work on my foraging and collect a few more walnuts. I tried to find some fossils for Professor Snail at the dig site, but no dice. I went back the next day and got a bit luckier, then went on another run through the volcano that took all day. Nothing really exciting or special happened except that I forged the last ruby onto my galaxy sword. On to day 71. After fishing up the fossilized spine, I went to the forge with a prismatic shard to enchant my pickaxe and got swift. Yay! When I went back home, I found all of my lovely pumpkins, some of which I was able to keg. The blacksmith opened my geodes, giving me a banana sapling and a prismatic shard, and agreed to upgrade my axe to iridium. I took on Gus's famous omelet quest, then used the rest of my money to buy some more pumpkin seeds, but I was worried they might not grow in time if I planted them outside, so they went into the greenhouse instead. Then I spent the rest of the evening in the mines, working on the Slayer goals and my combat level. It was time for the Stardew Valley Fair on day 72. I put a nice assortment of different things into the Grange display and talked to everyone there. As always, I ate a burger while waiting for Lewis to finish his judging. I won first place, and this new achievement called Blue Ribbon popped up. Annoyingly, my gambling didn't pay off despite betting half of what I had on green each time, so I resorted to playing the fishing minigame for a while. The second round of betting went much better, and soon I had enough star tokens to get the rare crow, the new ticket added to the pool of prizes, and my second star drop that reminded me of lifelong learning. After shipping a few bits and bobs to start filling out the shipping log, I picked up the fully upgraded axe, then went to the mayor's house, where I got an apple sapling for the ticket. I really hope my fruit bats will come through for me before this thing is fully grown, but it's good to have it as a backup for the jelly the raccoons want. It was nice to see the boys on the island, but what was even nicer was to find the melons fully grown. It looks like Concerned Ape has changed how the Gourmand frog talks, which used to be what I guess you might call a Caribbean-style accent. The walnuts he hands out stayed the same though, and now I just needed to get my hands on a garlic seed. I planted the apple sapling, then headed back into the volcano where I found a new leather jacket. I had gotten a mummified frog yesterday that I handed into the field office, and using the cinder shards, I enchanted my axe with one of the more useless enchantments in my opinion, powerful. Then I went back home where I found the pumpkin pickles in the preserves jars. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but the jellies, pickles, wines, and juices now have different colors based on what produce you use, and I love it. I was also able to pick some more cranberries and replace the old chests with big ones. Look at this beautiful quality of life improvement. You can just plunk the new chest on top of the old one and don't have to move anything. I also took this opportunity to change the colors and wanted to finally fix the pathing in front of my house. But it was getting pretty late, so I'd have to finish it tomorrow. The 2 speed grow sweet gem berries were fully grown on day 75. I was hoping that the traveling cart lady might have an apple, but no. Instead, I bought the rare crow, then fed Master Cannoli with his favorite food in exchange for my 3rd star drop. It was the hoe's turn to reach its final form at Clint's before I went to the bookseller, where I finally bought one of the more expensive books called Way of the Wind Part 1, which makes me walk a bit faster. Lewis wanted someone to slay 4 red slimes, so I did. I stayed in the mines to up my combat XP, finally having more ideas to sleep on that night, and choosing the brute profession. The level 10 foraging grind is real, and I haven't been showing you much of it, but I just wanted to say that I chop any tree I come across, and I'm still not there. The upside was that I had tons of wood to turn into 41 kegs, which were filled with some random eggplants that will be moved into the shed once it's finished. Caroline got a pumpkin she had asked for, and I talked to Lewis about the dead slimes, then decided to spend the rest of the evening looking for the last dwarf scroll I need, the yellow one. Unfortunately, I still couldn't find it. After taking care of my crops and genius animals on day 77, I did my usual round of foraging before giving Robin a birthday goat cheese. That boosted her up to 6 hearts, meaning she would now teach me how to craft drum and flute blocks. Do you guys ever use these outside of the mermaid quest on Ginger Island? I certainly don't. Her husband wanted me to catch some largemouth bass, which I only agreed to do because he was offering a ticket for it. Then I moved the preserves jars into my newly built shed. By the way, I've also been constantly checking the bat cave, but they just refused to give me an apple. Other than that, I just spent the rest of the day chasing dust sprites with my galaxy sword. I took my bait maker and a few fish smokers to the lake on day 78. The first largemouth bass I caught was turned into bait, which made taking care of Demetrius's quest so quick that I didn't even have time to smoke anything. The ticket he gave me rewarded me with a Friendship 101 book, which will help me make friends faster. That's really good. The Curious Substance quest was up for grabs, and on my way back to the farm, I saw a sign from Pam at the bus stop telling me I would be able to drive myself to the desert since she was on vacation. That's an awesome addition to the game. No more hating Pam because she ruined your Skull Cavern's plans on a lucky day. Funnily enough, you can actually pick up the sign, so I took it to use it on my own farm. I made 2 new ones for my journal. The first one says friends are good for your health. According to the Mayo Clinic, adults with strong social connections can decrease the risk of several health problems, including depression and high blood pressure, and are even shown to live longer. The second one was a late edition for the Ways of the Wind book that says anxious people walk faster. This is an overgeneralization and definitely not always the case, but movement can be a way to relieve tension or anxiety. This might be a good time to remind you that I'm not a doctor, just a random lady googling stuff like, why do people walk fast? I was getting so desperate for foraging XP that I chopped down any untapped trees at the railroad that I would replant some other time. The second ghost I slayed in the mines dropped the ectoplasm, but it was already pretty late, so I'd go see Rasmodius tomorrow. I found something new again on day 79, powder melon seeds that you can apparently plant in winter. Rasmodius was happy about the ectoplasm, Marnie was happy about the bushel of amaranth, and Sam was happy about this topaz he had asked for. Clint got my pan and 5 iridium bars to work with, and the ticket from the special orders board got me a couple of bombs, which was okay I guess, but I was looking forward to the next 3 prizes more. Gus had set up shop on the island, so I made sure to pick up the tropical curry recipe before doing more of this boring stuff. I just really want to see what's behind that door. The fall forage I had planted was grown, but sadly it doesn't give you nearly as much foraging XP anymore as of 1.6. I commissioned Robin to upgrade my shed and said hi to my girlfriend, then went back to the island where it was also raining. The mermaid was so entertained by my little musical performance that she gave me 5 golden walnuts, and I found the last snake vertebrae in a dig spot, finishing the snake fossil at Professor Snail's field office. I had found enough golden walnuts to get the island trader's stall repaired, and they weren't offering anything new, but I made sure to trade some coconuts for golden ones, since I still needed the mammal's skull. I also decided to plant the taro roots I had in a chest, hoping Caroline might ask for 100 of them for her island ingredients quest soon, and was able to finish the gem-bird puzzle and unlock island fast travel, although I actually rarely use it. At the end of this very busy day, I found my kegs full of purple eggplant juice and moved them into the shed. Einstein gifted me with a tiger trout on day 81, which reminded me there were still a few fall fish I would have to catch before the end of the season. By the way, I kept forgetting to keep my chicken's eggs for Gus's quest instead of turning them into mayo. So even though I got my act together at some point and started putting them in this chest, I don't think I'll have enough to hand in by Sunday. My little rabbit Goodall was the newest addition to Eureka Farm, and of course named after Dame Jane Goodall, the world's leading chimpanzee researcher. Watch this, y'all. I went into the volcano to work off some of the built-up adrenaline from all that excitement and noticed that this little meter down here was starting to fill up. I'm assuming it pulls all of the XP you get, and can't wait to see what happens when I hit 10,000. The chest on floor 9 had a beautiful hot java ring in it, so I forged my rings together and enchanted my watering can. Getting efficient. Meh. I chose the level 10 botanist profession that night. After taking care of the farm on day 82, I made a beeline for the new way that had opened up. There was a little brick-looking thing in the middle of the cave tracking my XP, and different plaques along the walls that had mastery items for each skill. They all looked super interesting, and I couldn't wait to get my little pixelated hands on them. There was also a letter from Grandpa on the ground, saying he had made these discoveries and wanted to share them with me. Looks like his favorite thing had also been lifelong learning. I took my bait maker and fish smokers to the river. Demetrius had been asking for me to catch 3 catfish, and I planned on seeing how much money I could make with my haul. I also caught some salmons and tiger trouts, which was good for my fishing log. The fish smoker profits are really something else. Another batch of oak resin was ready on day 83, and while I was up there, I decided to try my luck at fishing up void mayo again. In vain. Dang it, it looks like I'm gonna have to buy a void egg from Krobus after all. It was time for the Spirits Eve festival, where I bought the rarecrow and the jack-o'-lantern recipe from Pierre before heading into the maze. The route itself had stayed the same, so it was as easy as always to get the golden pumpkin, but there was a new secret shortcut to get back to the start with a minecart. Before catching some Z's, I used the oak resin to craft 17 more kegs. Picking cranberries always kind of feels like harvesting cold hard cash. The pumpkins in the greenhouse were also ripe on day 84, so I guess I could have planted them outside after all. After selling the berries to Pierre, picking up my pan, opening some geodes, and asking for an iridium watering can upgrade, I went to the desert to trade over 100 jades for staircases and bought loads of starfruit seeds for the greenhouse. I also put a solar essence into the sand dragon's mouth and found the club member card in the lumber pile outside my house. Then I turned right back around to go back to the desert and into the casino for the first time, where I played at the calico spin machines until I had over 20,000 key coins. That was enough to get the alien rarecrow, but also one of each of these new fireworks and this new wallpaper. I would make sure to come back some other time to get the really expensive flooring and wallpaper, but I had had enough for today. Of course, I couldn't help myself and tried out one of the fireworks. It was delightful, and inspired me to add a new sign to my field log. Each of these chemicals are added to fireworks to get different colors. Strontium for red, calcium for orange, sodium for yellow, barium for green, and copper for blue. The first day of winter always feels like the perfect blank slate to rethink your crop layout. A shadowy figure hid from me in a bush, but unfortunately for them, I knew I would find them there, and they gave me a magnifying glass. Emily wanted some gems for her rock rejuvenation class, then I went to see Krobus to give him a birthday horseradish. I also bought 2 void eggs from him, one to incubate and one to put into the mayo machine. Then I took all of the pine cones I had laying in a chest to the raccoon's wife to trade them in for powder melon seeds. Now that we have some winter crops to plant, I definitely don't want to miss out on those extra profits. I also made as many winter seeds as I could and planted those too. On day 86, I had officially turned all of the hops into pale ales, so it was time to make more pumpkin and eggplant juices. I also took some time to put down a bit of pathing around the crop areas and set up this little spot for my furnaces, but wasn't quite able to fill it up yet. All of the quality sprinklers I took down on the mainland were relocated to the island farm, where I planted the rest of the starfruit seeds that hadn't fit in my greenhouse. Then I got to play 3 rounds of darts with the pirates before going back to the valley. Pam was asking for a bream, so I fished one up and handed it to her, getting another ticket in return. I also gave Emily all of the gems she wanted, getting the second ticket of the day. Day 87 was the first time I took a closer look at the calendar, where I noticed that there would be another fishing event this season called the Squid Fest. First, I got the last barn upgrade at Robin's, and after finally handing the henchman the stupid void mayo and picking up the magic ink, I went to Lewis's house to get the new hat and another fish smoker. Next, it was off to Clint's to get my upgraded watering can, and then I paid Marnie a visit to buy 2 heaters for my animals so they wouldn't catch a cold. Excuse me, but Linus looks amazing in his new winter outfit. Where can I get me one of those? By this point, I had realized that I hadn't been using my noggin when I planted my first banana sapling on the farm, since it would only start to bear fruit in summer, so I planted another one on the island. Then visited Mr. Key in his walnut room for the first time. I took his hungry challenge and saw that I was only at 28% perfection. That's quite a ways to go. Then I just spent the rest of the day in the volcano looking for dragon's teeth and cinder shards. I had gotten a letter from someone from the Joja Special Services Division named Fizz to come meet them in the mushroom cave on the island. Sadly, I have the memory of a goldfish sometimes and forgot to check it out today. Instead, I opened some artifact troves and had 2 more things for Gunther, then spent a little time in the mines until I had finally reached a deeper level of understanding. After taking another look at the different masteries, I decided to go with combat because I really wanted to find out what those trinkets were. Then noticed I now needed 15,000 XP for the next mastery level. Looks like it'll get harder each time. Then I was back into the mines to slay more dust sprites that finally dropped a coffee bean I had been too stingy to get from the traveling cart. There was also a new secret note from Grandpa telling me about a secret in the valley, but I think it's referring to the Mastery Cave. Day 89 was a really lucky day that I wanted to spend in the Skull Caverns. Before I went, I planted the coffee bean in the greenhouse and found a garlic at the traveling cart that was turned into a seed. I'd make sure to plant it for the gourmand frog soon. I had taken on Key's Hungry quest, but it wasn't much of an issue since I was able to staircase all the way down to level 100. There was a new looking chest there, but it only had a regular old crystallarium inside it. I stayed there all day, making it down to level 161 and getting almost 400 iridium ores and another prismatic shard, but sadly no trinket. I had collected enough copper ores to add the last 3 furnaces to the farm on day 90. The juices were ready and the kegs were refilled with more eggplants. Then I was off to the island to plant the garlic and use the key gems to get the key to the town. I also visited the pirates, but only to fish up a stingray for the fishing log. Then I found this mysterious fizz dude in the mushroom cave. He sells things called perfection waivers that cost 500,000 and count as 1% towards perfection. Interesting. Very interesting. The game decided to bless me with new hats on day 91. First, I found a floppy beanie in the stig spot and then a logo cap and one of these little metal things in the volcano. While going through the footage, I also noticed that a slime dropped a pair of goggles, but I didn't realize it, and they will now forever be lost to the volcano. At least I hadn't missed the mummified bat that I handed over to Professor Snell for a walnut. Back in the valley, Linus taught me how to make wild bait, then I decided to spend my evening clearing out the quarry before spending a bit of time in the mines. There are new butterflies that fly around in winter and they kind of glow at night, which I think is such a nice small detail. I was still really interested to see what the trinkets were all about, but I hadn't found any yet and hoped it wouldn't take much longer. Day 92 was the day of the ice fishing competition. I've been taking any winter forage I find and turning it into seeds to plant, and as you can see, my powder melons are growing in nicely. My void chick had hatched and I named her Fleming, as in Sir Alexander Fleming, the scientist who discovered the world's first antibiotic, penicillin. The best thing about the ice fishing competition was the fact that I could get a good look at everyone's new winter outfits. They all look so good, but everyone pales in comparison to Evelyn. Look at how cute she is. I caught more than enough fish before the time was up, so I took a look at what Elliot was up to before Lewis called it. The prizes stayed the same, and I decided to give Einstein the sailor's cap before heading to bed. More winter forage was turned into new seeds on day 93. It would turn out to be a good day to work on my friendship with Willie. Not only was he asking for a red mushroom, he had also put his tropical fishing quest on the special orders board. I handed him the mushroom and he took me to the island, where I was able to fish for 5 lionfish and 5 blue discuses. I also reached a new level of understanding today and would head to the Mastery Cave tomorrow. I chose the Farming Mastery, since I wanted the new Iridium Scythe and the Statue of Blessings, but the amount of resources it takes to craft it is pretty intimidating. I walked into the usual debate between Robin and Demetrius if a tomato is a fruit or a vegetable, and this time I decided to side with Demetrius. Botanically speaking, fruits develop from the flower of a plant and have seeds, while vegetables are the other parts of the plant and can have roots, stems, and/or leaves. So, technically speaking, there are lots of fruits commonly referred to as vegetables, such as cucumbers, avocados, pea pods, and eggplants. But culinarily speaking, we all know that if it's not sweet, it's not a fruit. Then I asked for another house upgrade and bought 2 stacks of wood off of her. I also used the handy key to the town to visit Clint after hours and get him to open more geodes. I was happy to get the mammal skull, but the only mineral I needed at this point, an opal, didn't show itself. It was Sebastian's birthday, who was happy about the frozen tear, and I used the wood to craft more kegs. The bookseller was back in town on day 95, but sadly I once again didn't have enough money to buy any of the other books. So instead, I went to the island to give Professor Snell the skull, completing his whole fossil collection. The garlic was fully grown and the gourmand frog gave me his last 5 walnuts, and I had enough cinder shards to enchant 2 more tools, efficient on my rod and reaching on my pan. Even though it is cool to be able to enchant your pan now, I wasn't really happy with either of them. But what are you gonna do? Then I fished for the 5 stingrays I still needed to complete Willie's quest. The ticket got me 4 artifact troves, which was pretty good. I had been slacking on slaying 500 dust sprites to get the burglar's ring, so that's what I worked on for the rest of the night, finding another new secret note talking about how raisin-fed Junimos are the best farm helpers. Huh. Days 96 and 97 were dedicated to the Squid Fest. Willie had sent me his fish tank in the mail, and I just put it in my bedroom for now. The squid sign is super adorable, and the man in the tent told me I had to catch the number of squids shown on the board to get the prizes. So after talking to some of the participants, I settled in with my fish smokers and got to fishing. I know I could have fished more quickly had I taken my bait maker, but I didn't mind the extra cash and the fishing experience filling my mastery meter. The first 8 squids on the first day got me some cool rewards, including a cute new squid painting and a book called The Art of Crabbing, giving crab pots a 25% chance to yield more. Before heading to bed, I realized I could craft a mini forge, and it really just works like the one in the volcano. The next day, my house was huge, so I had ample wall space for my new painting, and I crafted a sign for the new book that says shrimps are janitors of the sea. They clean up the waters they live in by eating debris and even clean fish by eating parasites living on them. Today, my goal was to catch 10 squids. I got 2 treasure chests with animal crackers, a new item added by my farming mastery that doubles an animal's produce. The most notable reward was obviously the unbelievably adorable squid hat. On day 98, I decided to give the animal crackers to Gertrude and Tesla. The starfruits in the greenhouse were finally ready, and as you can see, I forget that I can now use the iridium scythe to harvest crops. It'll stay this way for quite a while, actually. They were put into kegs, and I didn't have any more starfruit to plant, so I just went with ancient fruit and some random artichoke seeds I had gotten from mystery boxes. The strawberry I gave Maru put her up to 10 hearts. Then I used the trap bobber I got from the Squidfest to catch the glacier fish and a few lava eels up at the forge in the volcano. Oh, and I got the Physics 101 painting, which I know should make me happy as a lifelong learner, but it's just so ugly. I do have the sneaking suspicion that these symbols mean something though. Here's my interpretation, but I'd like to know what Concerned Ape actually intended. Welp, there's the last of the legendary fish gone forever. Some of the powder melons had turned into a giant version, and I planned on keeping it. As always, I turned all of the forage into more seeds to plant, then I took Gunther's fragments of the past quest before it was time for the first day of the night market. It seemed pretty much the same, except for that the shadowy merchant was selling a really expensive upright piano that looks a lot like Elliot's. I got a pearl from the mermaid show, then went into the submarine and caught all 3 exclusive fish, finding a second pearl too. I've been thinking about it and have concluded that the burger is the best bobber. Day 100 was a day of disappointments. The fruit bat cave refuses to give me a stupid apple for the raccoons. The enemies in the mines refuse to drop a yellow door scroll. I still haven't killed enough dust sprites to get the burglar's ring, and despite me spending all day in here, I still didn't have a trinket to call my own. At least I got the Iridium Snake Milk secret note and completed the Monster Slayer goal for skeletons, which is something, I guess. At the very end of the night, I went to the Statue of Uncertainty to change my mining profession to blacksmith, so I'd be able to start selling metal bars at an increased price. Luckily, the next day renewed my spirits. I went into the mines to harvest fiber when I found my first trinket, a basilisk paw, that makes you immune to debuffs. Neat. Then I found a second one, but they looked the same. Once I had enough fiber, I was able to craft the Statue of Blessings. The blessings are always different, but today, for example, it would make the first 3 fish I hook easier to catch. It was the wizard's birthday, and when I went to give him a purple mushroom, he introduced me to his book of summoning. Surprisingly, I would be able to get a Junimo head, which I thought you couldn't do if you went the Joja route. Then I headed to the waterfalls. I had read that the single new fish added in 1.6 was a goby, that you're supposed to be able to catch here. Sadly, it didn't bite. I won't mention it all the time from now on, but note that I'll be using my statue every day, and day 102's blessing gave me +1 luck. I bought 200 starfruit seeds from Sandy to plant on the island. And would you look at that, the apple tree was finally grown. Thank goodness. I had enough golden walnuts to restore the farm obelisk, and apparently, you now also get an island warp totem from it. I took on Key's Skull Cavern invasion quest and had some leftover walnuts I was able to trade in for key gems, which I used to get 40 pieces of magic bait. After clearing out the dig site and finishing Gunther's quest, I went back home to fish for the goby. Then I used the magic bait to fish for the smallmouth bass, which I caught right as 2 a.m. rolled around and got the Master Angler achievement. Willie's Star Drop was in the mail on day 103. I reached a deeper level of understanding while taking care of my animals, but before going to the Mastery Cave, I made a quick pit stop at Marnie's shop to get a piggy named Pythagoras, like the ancient mathematician, and a sheep named Dolly, which is, of course, a reference to the first real-life clone. I decided to go with mining mastery since I planned on doing a lot of that in the next couple of weeks. I had 2 tickets, one of which got me this new houseplant, and the second one getting me a book that grants a bit of foraging XP. Then I crafted the mining statue. It gives you 2 options each day, and today I went with the higher chance to find geodes, since I really want that opal. Before going into the mines, Maru showed me her finished project called Marilda, a robot that had a mind of its own. Demetrius said it was okay and that he and Robin wouldn't need any help once Maru moved out, so Marilda took off into the sky. In the mines, I found a gaudy shirt, and thanks to the mining mastery, I now get 2 gems per node, which is a nice bonus. Finally, as it was almost time to head to bed, I found a new trinket, a parrot egg, and now have my own little parrot buddy that's supposed to give me money from time to time when slaying enemies. Krobus sold me his delicious star drop on day 104. One of the frozen geodes from yesterday contained the opal I was missing, and I got a book of mysteries that gives you a higher chance to find mystery boxes. Gunther rewarded me with a magic rock candy. Then it was back into the mines, where I found an infested floor 61 I kept spamming. One of the enemies dropped a golden spur trinket that gives you a little speed boost every time you slay a monster. The day ended on a high note when I had finally slain 500 dust sprites and booked it to the Adventurers Guild to pick up the coveted Burglar's Ring. I realized I had also gotten a swashbuckler's hat yesterday, which was very fitting for my plans for the day. I staircased down the first 85 floors of the Skull Caverns and fought my way to level 100, where I got 40 key gems and the iridium snake milk from Mr. Key. I obviously spent the rest of the day here and got tons of valuable loot, including a fairy trinket that gradually restores a bit of your health, an ice rod trinket that I didn't try out today but that's supposed to freeze enemies for a little while, as well as loads of iridium and radioactive ores, rabbit's feet, and prismatic shards, passed out on level 184. The next day was super busy. I used a rain totem from one of the Skull Caverns chests, then gave Copernicus a fashion hat I had found and got an intriguing blessing. I was supposed to be able to find a prismatic butterfly in the valley, and even though I looked everywhere for it, it just wouldn't show itself. I crafted some of the new heavy furnaces to be able to smelt through all the ores faster, then found my beautiful yellow starfruit wines ready to go. Curie got a Skull Cavern animal cracker, and I was finally wealthy enough to buy something new from the bookseller aptly called Horse the Book. Now Copernicus has got a little more pep in his step. The wines I sold to Pierre were worth over $250,000, I used one of the rabbit's feet to get the lucky charm, and the raccoons finally got what they had been wanting for so long: dried plums and an apple jelly. They gifted me another book called The Raccoon Journal, making it more likely to find mixed seeds when scything weeds. After chopping down the banana sapling to relocate it to the island, I added 3 more signs to my growing collection. The first one was a stand-in for the Book of Mysteries. What's more mysterious than the meaning of life? The second sign says, raccoons wear natural sunglasses, because researchers assume the dark markings around their eyes absorb light and reduce glare. And the third one is an homage to Horse the Book. I was interested in why it's called horsepower, and apparently that's just what they called it once the first motorized vehicles were produced, wanting to make them appealing to people who had been used to getting around in horse-drawn carriages up until then. Thanks to the rain on day 107, I was able to hit up the old mariner and buy the mermaid pendant off of him. Maru happily accepted, meaning I'd be married before the end of the year. I had taken on the Reset Mines quest at Key's Walnut Room yesterday, so that's what I worked on for the rest of the day. I found another ice rod and decided to try it out today, but almost immediately got stuck behind frozen rock crabs, which annoyed me, and I preferred getting a little bit of money from time to time, so I switched back to the parrot. But then I found yet another trinket, the cutest little frog that gobbles up enemies from time to time. I got a new shirt and more radioactive ores, and thanks to the mining blessing making it easier to find ladders, I made it through a third of the mines before midnight. Here's another something new. The person you get for the Feast of the Winter Star now shows up as a little icon in your UI. While I loved the frog trinket, I decided to switch back to the parrot. since I still had so many Monster Slayer goals to work on and wasn't exactly sure if the enemies the frog eats counts towards them or not. I had gotten another star drop tea for a ticket that I handed to Pierre, who happened to be walking by, before heading back into the reset mines. The basilisk paw trinket is pretty uninteresting to me for the most part, but it is very handy to use against the putrid ghost debuff. Made it to level 65. The greenhouse was officially full to the brim with ancient fruit on day 109. Before making my way to the Feast of the Winter Star with the cactus fruit for Sam, I shipped over 100 iridium bars for some extra income. The festival was the same as always for the most part, but Pierre now sells these random items like a perch and espresso. I don't know if it might be a random selection every year, but I assume it's supposed to be a way to get your hands on a gift in case you forget to bring one. I bought the festive wallpaper, then received 25 hardwood from Robin. The metal bars made me almost 200,000 G that night. Day 110 would be the day Maru and I got married. It was nice to see that Demetrius was happy for us. We all know how overly protective he is of his daughter. After hugging my wife, it was time for more spelunking in the reset mines. I made sure to switch back to the parrot as soon as I was past the levels with the green ghosts, and later in the day I even found a new cool trinket, a quiver, that shoots arrows at enemies every couple of seconds. Not only did I make it down 40 more levels, I also completed the Monster Slayer goals for Void Spirits and Rock Crabs. Getting down the last few levels on day 111 was a breeze, and all the combat experience gave me a deeper level of understanding again. There's a new achievement for making it to the bottom called Danger in the Deep. Now I could finally go back to taking care of other stuff again. I bought 300 starfruit seeds from Sandy, then went to Robin's to paint my buildings. I was digging the green, pink, and orange color scheme and thought it went well with the brick and wood pathing. Thanks to the key to the town, Clint agreed to work overtime for me, opened a few geodes and tons of artifact troves and mystery boxes. I also made it worth his while by buying 260 copper ores and 120 pieces of coal. Today, I decided on the foraging mastery, and after planting some of the starfruit seeds on the island and putting on my new mystery shirt from one of the boxes, do you like it? I crafted and planted the new mystic seeds. The last day of the year was pretty chill. I put down scarecrows and lightning rods in preparation for spring and took care of my honor roll animals, then headed to level 100 in the mines to do some trash fishing for Linus's community cleanup quest. I placed it all in the dumpster, where it should have been in the first place, then thought it best to lay off on the acquisition of knowledge and instead focus on my relationships for a bit. I mean, it doesn't really matter how smart you are if you don't have anyone to share your thoughts with, right? My parrot buddy and I woke up in this brand new year, hugged Maru and handed her a solid gold bar, just because she's worth it, then said hi to our new neighbor, Kent. Oh no, wait, he wasn't part of the update. After prepping the farmland and saying hi to my animal geniuses, Copernicus and I galloped to Pierre to buy our spring seeds. I bought a little bit of everything for the shipping log and cooking, but it wasn't enough to fill up all of the sprinkler spots, so I also planted rice and some mixed seeds. The next day, I found the yellow starfruit wine past me had kegged, and present me really appreciated that. The raccoons now had a little baby who was hungry and wanted dehydrated purple mushrooms and 5 white algae. Look at his little head. After putting the mushrooms in the dehydrator, I saw Sandy wanted a copper bar, so I paid her a visit, and while I was there, I also bought some more rhubarb seeds. The special orders board had a ticket that I hadn't picked up last year, and I decided to go with Pam's quest called the Strong Stuff this week. Then I headed to the island, where I talked to Birdie, who handed me a photo, and I visited Key in his walnut room and took on his hungry challenge. I also picked up the new blue grass recipe for 40 key gems. Sadly, I saw that it required mystic syrup, something I hadn't found yet, but if I had to hazard a guess, I assume you get it by tapping the mystic trees that were still growing on my farm. Instead, I crafted the new anvil, which lets you reforge the stats of your trinkets for 3 iridium bars. I tried reforging my level 2 parrot trinket, but it turned it into level 1. Twice. How disappointing. Before going to bed, I snuck into Lewis's house to trade my ticket for the new cow decal that I hung up next to Maru's side of the bed. I'm sure she'll love it. She was so happy about it, in fact, that she handed me a bomb on day 115. Thanks, honey, but that was a wild move. The raccoons were very thankful for the mushrooms and algae and gave me a raccoon hat, which is adorable and also kind of crazy. Like, who did you skin for this? Robin agreed to build me a pet bowl, which you can even change the appearance of, and is instantly ready to go on the farm. I spent the majority of the day trading the photo for salt, for a rose, for a remote, and so on and so forth, while handing out gifts along the way. I also stopped at Marnie's to buy a new pet turtle. I was even considering buying the one for $500,000 since I actually would have been able to afford it, but I thought it unwise and went with the green one I called Gertrude. Like Gertrude the alien. I'm sorry, I forgot I had already used that name before. It's hard to keep track of sometimes, okay? But we can give her a nickname and just ignore her legal name. Let's call her Rachel, like Rachel Carson, who was an American biologist who made it her mission to warn of the detrimental effects environmental pollution has on our planet and its inhabitants. My frugality went flying out the window when Krobus showed me the wizard catalog again, and I bought it. Once Willie handed me the locket, I went back to Ginger Island, where I picked and replanted starfruits, and saw that my banana tree had sprouted its first fruit. Birdie taught me how to craft fairy dust and gave me 5 key gems as a thank you for the locket. Then I warped home, forgetting to give the gorilla the banana. But it was only because I was so excited to check out the new catalog. It has so many cool new items that you can use to turn your home into a witchy paradise. I tried out some wallpaper and a shelf, but it had gotten quite late and dark, so I would have to continue my decorating some other time. Day 116 was very lucky, so I decided to head to the desert. I tried reforging my parrot before leaving, but it was still only level 1. Am I doing something wrong? I was able to interact with the shrine today, and it appears to be similar to the one in the normal mines, where you can turn them dangerous whenever you feel like it. It was a good thing it would only happen overnight though, because I had forgotten I had taken on the Hungry Challenge and wouldn't be able to eat until I made it to level 100. I went back out to eat a spicy eel and drink an espresso, then did my best to get down as fast as I could. The enemies started dropping golden mystery boxes, one of the perks of the foraging mastery. And call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure that some of the floor layouts are new, like this one that looks like a skull, or this one with several minecart tracks. Being in the caverns without a speed buff feels especially slow for some reason, but I did eventually make it to level 100 where I found cinder shards in the chest. All in all, it went really well, and I passed out on level 157. Here's a little peek at my haul on day 117. Not bad, considering I wasn't allowed to eat until 9 PM. I traded our pinstripe bed for the wizard's version, and also put down his fireplace. But I wasn't feeling especially inspired to decorate today, so I left it at that for now and picked my parsnips, garlics, and carrots. Copernicus ate one of them, and I loved that. Pythagoras had found his first truffle, and after handing Willie a purple mushroom in exchange for a ticket, he took me to the island. I sped off to the jungle to offer the banana to the gorilla, then went on a late volcano run. My suspicions from yesterday were confirmed, because there were also definitely new layouts here. Looks like a watering can really is essential to getting through the volcano now. By the end of it, I had enough cinder shards to get the deluxe retaining soil recipe from the island trader. On day 118, I used my key gems to get the horse flute, then took a look at the perfection tracker. I obviously still had a lot to do for perfection, but I also saw that I was just missing one measly walnut. Leo's parrot told me it was stuck in one of the muscle nodes, so I was sure it was just a matter of time. After forging the hot java and burglar's rings together, I traded my omni geodes for artifact troves, which I opened along with the golden mystery boxes. It was nice stuff, but nothing game-changing. I was able to hand in 2 more artifacts and just needed 3 more to complete the entire museum. After reforging the parrot trinket stats and finally getting a better level 3 parrot, I headed into the mines, desperately trying to find the last dang yellow dwarf scroll. The spirits were super happy on day 119, so I drove myself to the Skull Caverns, since Pam had taken the day off. The enemies were especially deadly, now that I had the dangerous version turned on, but I liked it that way, because it meant I'd be able to collect radioactive ores. To make a long story short, I completed the Monster Slayer goal for slimes, finally got the last dwarf scroll, found an autopetter in a chest, and got one as a drop from a slime, and a good amount of radioactive and iridium ore before I died at 1:40 AM. I only lost a basilisk paw, so I didn't mind. Also, fun fact, I did the math, and my parrot earned me 20,500 G today. Not bad. I did lots of little stuff on day 120. After crafting 2 heavy tappers for the beautiful, fully grown mystic trees and an oil maker for Pythagoras' truffles, I put the autopetters into the coop and barn, then talked to Caroline, who mentioned my wedding, which is definitely a new piece of dialogue. She was at 2 hearts, so I decided to go see what was up with her tea room. Looks like I kind of neglected her, now that the tea saplings are only worth half of what they used to be. I took on the wizard's prismatic jelly quest, then opened more artifact troves and was astounded to find a new book, the Treasure Appraisal Guide, that makes artifacts worth more. Neat! Gunther finally gave me the Dwarvish translation guide, and I replaced the powdermelon wine with starfruits. Then I got this notification saying something about a chub frenzy at the lake. What's that? I sped off and was confused at first, so I just kind of fished for a bit, but then found this huge bubble spot that chubs were jumping out of. Looks like you can only find that specific type of fish in these spots. Chubs are kind of uninteresting, but I wouldn't mind finding a catfish frenzy. Day 121 got off to a slow start, but it would end with a miracle. After clearing out the quarry and adding 22 kegs to it, I crafted the first mushroom log of this playthrough. It's supposed to work better if placed next to trees, so I put it next to the mystic trees. I had quite the collection of old weapons and trinkets that I sold to Marlin, picked up my rewards from Gil, then decided it couldn't hurt to start looking for the prismatic jelly. And, I mean, just look at this. What? If Stardew Valley had the lottery, I would have bought a ticket right there and then. The prize ticket that got me 4 bee houses would have to do though. That night, I made a sign in commemoration of the Artifact Appraisal Guide that says that the Hope Diamond was mailed to the Smithsonian in a bag. The Hope Diamond is considered to be the most valuable artifact in the world at somewhere between $200 to $350 million, and the guy who gave it to the museum literally wrapped it up and sent it through the mail. This is the actual wrapper. I mean, I guess fragile is one adjective you can use to describe it. Day 122 started with a star drop from my wife that reminded me of that good old lifelong learning. Now I just need the last one from Gunther. I found another small 1.6 edition today. The cloth in my loom had a little 2 next to it. It's nothing huge, but you weren't able to see how many bolts of cloth, mayos, or whatever else you were getting from your farm machines before. The new raccoon baby wanted horseradish juice, another impossibility in 1.5, and pickled potatoes. Vincent got a bunch of grapes for his birthday, then I sped off to the island. That's where I finally found the last walnut in a Shelly stone and took on Key's prismatic grange quest before heading to the volcano to collect more cinder shards. Now that I could finally talk to the dwarf on floor 5, I bought the recipes and found a book that you can only get by trading 10 diamonds for it. I'm gonna have to remember to bring them with me soon. Finally, I completed the Monster Slayer goal for killing 150 magma sprites before heading to bed. The heavy tappers were full of the very pretty and very valuable mystic syrups on day 123. I crafted an ostrich incubator with the cinder shards and a single clump of blue grass. Sadly, I didn't have enough moss left to craft a treasure totem, another craftable that requires mystic syrup. After incubating the ostrich egg, I planted the bluegrass and I don't know, it doesn't really feel like it's worth it unless it's not immediately eaten by the animals. I guess I'll see tomorrow. The bookseller was back and I bought 2 books today. Way of the Wind Part 2, making me walk even faster, and Old Slither Legs, which would let me walk through crops faster. The mushroom log had sprouted its first purple mushroom and the last mystic tree had grown in and was tapped on day 124. I picked and kegged some potatoes today, but they definitely won't be ready in time to complete Pam's quest. Oopsie. Welp, the grass is gone. I kind of saw that coming. After switching back to the parrot trinket and relocating my fruit trees to have more room to expand my scientific journal, I made 2 new signs for the books I read yesterday. Way of the Wind Part 2 got a sign that reads, "Walking fast is good for you." You can apparently reduce your risk of heart disease, cancer, dementia, and death. Yeah, that's always a good risk to reduce. The second sign for Old Slither Legs says, "Frictional characteristics of roadside grass types." It's the title of a paper scientists wrote on what type of grass provides the most friction in cases where cars skid off the road to get them to stop quicker. Here's the TLDR. Don't use white clover. Ryegrass, browntop, and agridark provide better friction. I never knew there were so many types of grass. Then I enchanted my hoe, getting swift, and just spent the rest of the day gathering more cinder shards. The parsnips and cauliflowers were fully grown on day 125, but I made sure to not pick the cauliflowers so they could mutate into a giant one. It was time for the second annual Egg Festival, and after buying 120 seeds, I noticed the NPCs had new dialogue, and it was nice to not spam click through what they said for once. When it was time for the grand finale of the festival, the egg hunt, I quickly realized the eggs were hidden in new places, and there were more obstacles. I walked right past this egg behind the pink tree. Twice. But still managed to find 10 eggs and won a prize ticket instead of 1000 G. Then I planted the strawberries I had room for before hitting the hay. But it didn't take long to be able to plant the rest of the seeds, as the potatoes, green beans, and the first rhubarbs of the season had grown in. When I went to Haley's house to give her a birthday coconut, she and Emily were fighting about Haley not wanting to clean under the couch cushions. I suggested she have this one weekly chore, as I always do, but at the same time I also always think it's weird. Of all the things you can do to keep your space clean, I think that's the last thing I would prioritize. I also got to watch Emily dance for a bit before handing over the coconut and warping to the desert for a Skull Caverns run. I staircased the first 80 levels and it was really exhilarating. I got lots of crazy chests, including 2 more autopetters. I guess the spawn rates might have been changed. It didn't take long before I made it to level 100, completing Key's quest and getting 40 more key gems. Some beloved books dropped, and reading on the go is hard when you're being attacked, but I just can't pass up a chance to learn something new. I also found my first Galaxy Soul and got the Monster Slayer goal for serpents, as well as the witch's hat I put on my noggin. Sadly, I died at 1:40 AM and lost 6 prismatic shards, a quiver, and all solar essences I had found. After trying out the anvil again with 2 level 2 fairy trinkets that both turned into level 1, I don't really feel like I like this concept. I think it might be better to make it way more expensive, like maybe 10 iridium bars, but have a guaranteed better trinket afterwards. This is just depressing. Some wines were ready, then I finally visited the dwarf for the first time, where I got the dwarvish safety manual, the big stone chest, and the weathered floor recipe, the rare crow, and bombs that are now more expensive. I love learning new powers. Today was wonderful because it was the first day of the desert festival. For starters, Emily gave me this amazing dino outfit, then I got a brother for my cactus at home. I correctly answered the scholars' questions again, then fished up 3 sandfish for Willy. After taking Marlin's quest to slay 10 serpents and diving into the Skull Caverns, I quickly realized I had made the task much harder on myself by having the deadly version turned on. Dino floors feel so much sadder when you look like them. In the end, I only got a rating of 14. Gil is a tough cookie. I had 221 calico eggs to my name and used them to get Harvey's mallet, because for some reason I had decided to try to collect all the spouse weapons. I also would have liked to get his cool furniture and the retro TV George was selling, but could only afford the new blue bow for now. Oh, the cacti look like twins. Day 128, I went right back to the desert and got there so early that I didn't really know what to do for a while, since the festival hadn't started yet. I took on the challenge to get to level 30 today. The caverns were still dangerous, but at least I remembered to turn it off for tomorrow. Regardless, my run went much better today, and I collected loads of calico eggs and got down much further. The ladder blessing really helped with that. I also reached my final, deeper level of understanding today, which was kind of a bittersweet feeling, knowing I would only get one last mastery perk. I left on level 142 at 11:30 PM. Gil was finally impressed with my caving skills and gave me 200 eggs and his hat. I used my eggs to get Shane's chicken decal and Caroline's exotic palace decal, as well as the 5 green teas she was offering. On the last desert festival day, I took the quest to gather 12 Omni Geodes, then plunged back in. The Skull Caverns is by far the best way to get calico eggs if you have the right gear. Today, I finished slaying dinos for the Slayer goal, and it was so much easier without deadly monsters swarming me all the time. I had made it to level 156 by 11:20 and got 200 more eggs from Gil. I made sure to spend all of them today, getting Kira's sign, the mummy mask, a calico statue, a magic rock candy, and desert flags. I wanted to spend my last 500 eggs on ores from Clint, but he was leaving right as I walked up to his stall, so I just got a desert rug and 31 mega bombs instead. When I was back in Pelican Town, I jumped onto Copernicus and rushed down here, where you can find a little rainbow and a pot of gold that gives you money and the new leprechaun hat on Spring 17. We also galloped to the Mastery Cave, where I chose the final one, Fishing Mastery, that grants you a new rod. I felt Grandpa's hand patting my shoulder while I was struggling with my inventory, and saw his nightcap glowing before I tried to rush home in vain. On day 130, I took a closer look at my new rod that has 2 spots for tackles. This will make fishing even more fun. Then I put on my new hat and put the decorations down around our house in random spots for now. When I was giving the raccoons what they had asked for, I saw I could give them parsnip instead of potato pickles. I tried it out, and it actually worked, and they gave me 5 fairy dust. But when it said the raccoon shop had been expanded, I took a look, but there wasn't anything new. And I was afraid I might have broken it because I swindled them out of what they actually wanted. I guess that's what I get for being a cheapskate. I took Caroline's tropical ingredients quest, asking for pineapples again, but heads up, I won't complete it in time. While selling some old gear to Marlin, including tons of repeat trinkets that were piling up in my chests, I noticed this room at the top with a bright blue box. There was a book inside of it called Mapping Cave Systems, giving me a 50% discount on Marlin's loot retrieval services. All of the Omni Geodes I had collected over the last 3 days were traded for 23 artifact troves, but sadly none of them gave me what I needed for the museum. Pam was pleased with her birthday cactus fruit, then I picked the rhubarbs and cauliflowers that had grown in, some of which had become giant, and replaced them with kale seeds. The ostrich had hatched, and I named her Lovelace, like Ada Lovelace, who is considered the world's first computer programmer. The world's first computer, called the Analytical Engine, wasn't invented by her, but she understood its functions so well that she proposed a way it can be programmed to compute Bernoulli numbers, and the early programming language Ada was named after her. She, Newton, and Galileo got the animal crackers I had found in the Skull Caverns, then I sped off to the island to plant as many pineapples as possible. The star fruits were also grown, but I didn't have enough seeds to replace them, so I left most of them in the ground for now. And at the end of this busy day, I took on Key's Prismatic Grange quest, but would have to complete it some other time. The first strawberries of the year were ready to be picked on day 131, and I gave the gold star one to my beloved. Even in a JoJo playthrough like this one, I kind of forget that they exist, so that's why I bought 64 single JoJo colas from the vending machine in the saloon to get the 100 I needed, instead of going to the supermarket to buy in bulk. Sandy sold me 500 starfruit seeds that I used to replace the fully grown ones on the island, and a few more sprinklers I had gotten from golden mystery boxes expanded the field. Then I completed Key's Grange with explosive ammo, copper ores, sap, fiber, bug meat, and the cokes. Using the key gems, I picked up the hyperspeed grow recipe and accidentally got an exotic double bed instead of the hopper recipe. I'll just put this right here, I guess. Last but not least, I made my way to floor 5 of the volcano with 10 diamonds in my pockets and purchased the Diamond Hunter book from the dwarf, which will give me a chance to randomly find diamonds in rocks mined by hand. I really need to update my scientific journal. I got right on it the next morning, and it was kind of nerve-wracking to put the bomb on the sign, but I made it without an accidental explosion, then wrote down some new insights. In commemoration of the Dwarvish Safety Manual, I found out that the word bomb comes from the Latin word bombus, which is an onomatopoeia for buzzing or booming. For Marlin's Mapping Cave Systems, I discovered that there are different types of cave diving. Caving, spelunking, and potholing all refer to recreational cave diving, although there seems to be a saying in the community that cavers save spelunkers, meaning they're better prepared and do it on a more professional level, while speleology is the scientific study of caves. And for the Diamond Hunter book, I wrote that, contrary to popular belief, diamonds are made of carbon, not coal. Shane's workday got a little better when I handed him a birthday beer, and I hope Morris will take some of the 500,000 gold I gave him for the movie theater to give him a raise. I was on my way to the island when I checked the bobber machine and saw that there were still 2 missing. The only thing I could think of were the legendary family fish that I hadn't caught yet, so I hope Key will offer that quest soon. After looking for more cinder shards in the volcano, I warped back home to use my mini forge and added the 2 galaxy souls I had onto my sword and enchanted a few of my tools. Bottomless on my watering can, archaeologist on the pan, and preserving on my new rod. That night, the JoJo workers turned the warehouse into a movie theater. The Statue of Blessings gave me the prismatic butterfly blessing on day 133, and on my way to the railroad to collect the oak resin, I happened to find it. It gave me almost 14,000 G. Don't mind if I do. Using the resin, I crafted 21 more kegs and noticed I could craft a treasure totem. I used it up in the mountains, and although I didn't get anything I needed, it was still pretty cool. Now that the movie theater was built, I was looking forward to using it to work on my friendships and went there with Abigail today. Walking in unlocked a new achievement called 2 Thumbs Up. I bought her a rock candy to feed her addiction, but when I went through the doors to watch the movie, a weird error notice popped up, and all of a sudden I came back out without having seen the movie. Oh no, can I not get movie friendship points now? At least the dude hogging the crane game was gone, so I got some decorations for the farm, including these 2 new plants. I was missing Gil's hat I had worked so hard to get, so I put it back on and gave the leprechaun hat to the alien rare crow for safekeeping. Then I spent the night trying to get a feel for the wizard furniture and decorating a tiny bit of the kitchen. Day 134, Maru told me there would be a rare astronomical event happening tomorrow night and to meet her up at the mountains. Sounds good. I shipped some dried mushrooms that I had put into the dehydrator yesterday, then picked the crops that had grown in and took care of the kegs that were ready to be refilled. I found Abigail playing a little tune and decided to join in with my mini harp since I had just read a book by Lois Svard and found out that, while listening to music doesn't make you smarter, research suggests that learning how to play an instrument gives you many cognitive advantages, even in fields that might seem unrelated at first, like math and language processing. I got to buy another book today, the Queen of Sauce cookbook, that taught me 15 new recipes. Since it was the beginning of a new week, I could take on a new quest and went with Willie's Juicy Bugs Wanted, then spent the rest of the day chopping wood in Cindersap Forest. When I saw the Hat Mouse, I took another look at his wares and bought a space helmet that's unlocked when you get the Danger in the Deep achievement. Copernicus got Gil's hat for safekeeping. Good morning, Maru. I'm really excited for our date tonight. Look, I even dressed up for the occasion. After doing my farm chores on day 135, I added 9 more tappers to the oak trees at the railroad before heading into the mines with the monster musk to collect bug meat for Willie. The effects of the diamond hunter started kicking in, and a few hours later, I had collected enough to put into the barrel next to Willie's shop. The ticket got me 5 more mystery boxes. That evening, Maru showed me this beautiful astronomical event. She said it's customary to make a wish after seeing a comet, so I wished for a new baby. While we hugged on Earth, Marilda flew by through space, a new little detail added in 1.6. Day 136 was the day of the flower dance, but I had a lot of crops to harvest before I could go. Oh, Tyson, you little cutie. Similar to the Egg Festival, the flower dance was set up a bit differently this year and the villagers had more new dialogue. Kent asked a good question. Why do we find flowers beautiful? Well, researchers have also asked themselves this question, and Orions and Hairwagon have proposed the habitat selection theory. Evolutionarily speaking, humans had to look for cues in their habitats to determine if they would be able to survive there. As we already found out in the first 100 days, fruits develop from the flowers of a plant, so flowers were a good indication that a habitat had edible fruit, and thus humans evolved to find them appealing. After looking at my relationships, I made the heartbreaking decision to ask Abigail to be my dance partner. Of course, I felt bad about not asking Maru, but Abby was the bachelorette with the least hearts, but still enough to want to dance with me. It was the only logical thing to do, and I was sure Maru would understand. Plus, she got to dance with Harvey, so it wasn't like she was missing out on the fun. Spring would come to an end soon, and I had quite a bit of empty farmland, but the strawberries were still giving me plenty of produce. Today, I finally took the time to add a sign for the Queen of Sauce cookbook that says, "Cooking is a form of altruism." There are obviously many benefits to cooking fruits and veggies, but when you cook for others, you both get something out of it. That person feels cared for, and you get the serotonin boost of doing something good for someone else. I saw that the raccoon wanted to gift his wife a diamond and 5 pieces of trash, which I would get for him soon, but first I handed the bear in the woods a maple syrup. Knowledge is knowledge, no matter how useless. After commissioning a second shed from Robin, I found Willie fishing at the ocean with his moving mountain of bug meat. It honestly seems like a scientific miracle, or a nightmare, depending on how you look at it. He was offering the extended family quest, which was really exciting with all the new fishing gear, and I was hoping to make some serious profits over the next 3 days. I used a cork bobber and a trap bobber on my new rod, and it was super nice to have doubled the benefits. I caught the Glacierfish Jr., the son of Crimson Fish, and the radioactive carp, and when I caught the first legend too, I turned it into bait, since the fish are recatchable as long as the quest is still active. Sadly, I wasn't good enough to catch the second one that bit today, but I would try again tomorrow. On the morning of day 138, I shipped the smoked legendary fish I had gotten so far, then visited the raccoons to give them what they had been wanting, getting this cool new jungle tank in return that was also added to their shop. The traveling cart lady was selling Maru's portrait. I nabbed that right away, hung it up in the living room, and hoped Maru would appreciate it. I also put down the fish tank and put a shrimp into it that Einstein had coughed up this morning. After giving Pierre a rabbit's foot for his birthday, I spent the rest of the day at the lake trying to catch as many Legend 2s as possible. It feels especially wasteful to catch algae with legend bait. All in all, I ended up catching 7 legends, and even caught 2 with the new fishing perk of golden treasure chests, which I was pretty proud of. The contents of the chests were okay, but nothing game-changing. I only smoked 4 of the fish and turned the other 3 into bait. Since I passed out at the lake, I had only shipped the Smoke Glacier Fish Jr. and the Son of Crimson Fish, which gave me good profits, but I was excited to see what the legends would do for my funds. I got the fishing blessing from my Statue of Blessings on day 139, which was really cool for my fishing plans for the day. I quickly took care of the farm and gave Fleming an animal cracker I had fished up yesterday before heading out. By the way, I've been checking the secret woods and just can't find any morels, which is a real shame. I also wanted to work on my friendships a bit, so I gave Emily a birthday topaz, then bought 2 movie tickets for Kent and myself. I ordered him a Star Drop sorbet, but got the error message again when going to watch the movie, which made me very sad. So I gave up for now and went back to the lake. The first 3 fish I hooked were legends, and thanks to the blessing, they were super easy to reel in and 2 were iridium quality. Once I was out of legend bait, I caught the last legendary family member, Miss Angler, and completed Key's quest and got some gems. Finally, I caught Robin on her way to bed to ask for an upgrade of the newly built shed. That night, I made almost 300,000 G just from fishing. Oh my goodness. The last spring crops, potatoes, had to be picked on day 140. My animals were out of hay, and when buying some from Marnie, I found the animal catalog, meaning I could access her shop anytime now, which is incredible. Also, I got another new achievement called Well Read, which meant I had read every book. I finally found 2 morels in the secret woods, and saw that thanks to the legendary fish quest, the Bobber-style collection was now complete. After saying hi to everybody who was hanging out on the island, I picked and replanted pineapples and starfruits. I bought the last galaxy soul I needed from Mr. Key using his gems, then trekked through the volcano to collect the last 5 cinder shards I needed for the forge. Once I had them, I zipped back home and used the mini forge to create the Infinity Blade and got the second new achievement of the day called Infinite Power. While we were lying in bed, Maru fulfilled the wish I had made a few days ago and asked to adopt a baby. On day 141, it was time for the seasonal farm prepping ritual. I found a colorful array of starfruit, ancient fruit, and rhubarb wines in the shed and refilled the kegs with starfruit. Pierre bought my wines, and I used the money to get a wide variety of seeds for cooking and shipping again, making sure to buy a lot of melon seeds because I want a giant one. Thanks to the blessing I got this morning, I found a prismatic butterfly at the bus stop that gave me almost exactly 20,000 G. The melon seeds went up here, and after planting the rest, I still had some open spots. So I warped to the desert to visit Sandy and buy 250 starfruit seeds. Once they were in the ground, Copernicus and I went to the Wizard's Tower to bankrupt ourselves and get the island warp obelisk that I put on this itty-bitty island. While I was there, I checked out his basement and found this new receptacle of unknown origins. Intriguing. The oak resin was ready to be collected, and after picking up Gus's famous omelet quest again, I used my new obelisk to check on the weeds on the island farm and chop wood that I would use for more kegs in the future. Day 142, Key's Loved Gifts quest was up for grabs, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm always really happy to see it, because you have to work on friendships for perfection anyways, and you even get key gems for it. I used the materials I collected yesterday to craft 22 kegs and 6 more mystic tree seeds I planted around the farm. The kegs went into the newly upgraded shed that I painted to match the rest of my buildings, then I spent some time working on the gift giving. That evening, I shipped 100 iridium bars and crafted whatever I could to get to work on that goal. In the process, I got to make challenge bait for the first time, but was missing a few crafting materials to be able to craft everything, one of those things being wood. So I did what needed to be done and chopped down more trees around the valley. I decided to drop by the Hat Mouse's shop and buy the blue ribbon, and I wanted to let Copernicus try on the space helmet, but his poor little face was all smushed, so he'll keep Gil's hat on for now. The iridium made me 150,000 G that night. Pretty good. The next day was spent handing out loads more loved gifts and clearing out most of my quest log. 10 hardwood for Robin, a radish for Sebastian in exchange for a ticket, sashimi for Pierre, and an apricot and an amethyst for Emily. The ticket got me a magic rock candy, which is always great to have. Let me tell you, it is extremely satisfying to harvest a greenhouse full of ancient fruit with the iridium scythe. It was Jass's birthday on day 144, so I gave her a pretty fairy rose. I wanted to turn the slime piling up in my chest into something more valuable, so I crafted 2 slime presses and started processing it. Then bought some basic cooking ingredients like flour, oil, and sugar from Pierre, as I'm going to have to get to work on cooking all the recipes soon. Since it was a Thursday, I didn't want to pass up the chance to trade in 3 prismatic shards for a magic rock candy at the desert trader, and while I was there, I went to the casino with a lucky lunch and a ginger ale and gambled until I had over 100,000 key coins. So I was able to get this new flooring that I added to this room in my house. I felt the urge to decorate a bit and was surprised to see that there were even lots of new things added to the regular furniture catalog, including this dining table that definitely doesn't go with the wizard vibes, but I couldn't pass up on using it. There were also these decorative doors and ladders which were pretty, and super cool tables full of booze. Where were these in my Thirsty playthrough? This was my progress by the end of the day. As you can see, it's an eclectic mix because I was just so excited to use all the new things, but it'll get nicer over the next few weeks, I promise. Look at these little cuties. There was a new baby raccoon that wanted dried peaches, meaning I'll need 5 peaches in total. I really hope my peach sapling grows back soon. When I saw the retro catalog and the red fez at the traveling cart, I couldn't resist and bought both of them. Look at me, I'm like her little piggy. It felt very irresponsible to spend all my money, but I got over it real quick when I saw all the wonderful furniture. I think the retro furniture might be my favorite. I just put down random stuff for now, but couldn't wait to have all the catalogs and maybe start mixing and matching. While decorating, I thought about how to speed up the money making, so I turned on the dangerous version of the mines for radioactive ore, remembered to put my parrot trinket back on, and harvested starfruit that had grown in on the island. Sadly, I had to spend the rest of my money on more seeds, but I knew it was a good investment. I had also taken a treasure totem with me to try to get the palm fossil I still needed for the museum, but only got the other 2 artifacts I already had. At least I got another new shirt that went well with the dino pants. The first hot peppers of the year were picked on day 146, then I added the last few missing eggs to Gus's fridge, finishing his famous omelet quest. The wizard had asked for someone to slay 2 ghosts, so I did that for him. Then I cleaned up my quest log. After telling Rasmodius about the ghosts, I gave Evelyn a leek and Demetrius a pufferfish. I still had a couple of hours left in the day, and to use them productively, I decided to craft a bit more challenge bait and try it out for the first time. I put 2 cork bobbers onto my advanced iridium rod and ate a lobster bisque I had lying around, since the whole point of challenge bait is that you can catch 3 fish at once, but only if it doesn't leave your fishing bar. So it's good to make it as huge as possible. The fishing blessing also helped me to catch the first 9 fish very easily. After that though, I felt like super cucumbers might be a bit too difficult for me. Every time the fish does slip out of the fishing bar, you get less fish, and can even completely lose your catch, which happened a few times. That night, a new baby goat was born that I named Carver, like George Washington Carver, who was an agricultural scientist and known as the plant doctor, because he taught impoverished farmers how to implement crop rotation in order to combat soil depletion. Basically, if you keep planting the same crops on the same land over and over again, the soil loses all of the nutrients needed for that plant. So Carter discovered that by planting things like sweet potatoes, soybeans, and peanuts, farmers would get higher yields overall. The fact that he was born into slavery and overcame the odds makes his very important work all the more impressive. I got the prismatic butterfly blessing again on day 147, and after putting Gus's fridge in the kitchen, replacing the grown radishes with starfruit seeds, putting some grapes into the dehydrator, and saying hello to Carver, I wanted to quickly find it before going to the skull caverns. Unfortunately, it took forever, and when I did finally spot it, it was out over the ocean where I couldn't get to it. What a waste of time. Ultimately, I still went to the desert, despite it already being late. I turned the dangerous versions back on again, ate a magic rock candy, and dove in. All in all, it went fine, I guess, and I passed out on level 85 at 2 AM. I found raisins in the dehydrator on day 148. The description says it's the Junimo's favorite food, just like that secret note I found a few weeks ago. I just shipped it for now for the shipping log though. The kegs were ready again, and I still really enjoy that the most profitable wine in the game is now literally golden. Since the oak resin was also ready, I spent a bit of time chopping trees to make more kegs that I added to my second shed. Robin's quest to collect 80 pieces of hardwood was on the special orders board, and although I don't really care about getting the bed, I went with it for the ticket. So I got started on that on the island, and while I was there, I took the 4 precious stones quest from Key. The wine made me $500,000 that night. Day 149, after giving Sandy one of her favorites, a sweet pea, I bought loads more starfruit seeds and finally bought a new mannequin off of her, an item I would have loved to have in my swaggy playthrough. It went in my home, and I dressed it in the caveman outfit. I spent the rest of the day fishing on the island with challenge bait to make some smoked fish profits. No. Do you know how hard it is to get cave jelly, Kent? I moved the 3 remaining smokers to the island farm and continued to fish there. By the end of the day, I had caught 42 lionfish and 21 flounders, and before going to bed, I crafted 2 more smokers to be able to smoke through all the fish faster. Happy birthday, honey! After scything the greenhouse ancient fruit, I found the first and only red cabbages of this playthrough fully grown, of which I shipped 15 and put the rest into the fridge. Copernicus and I headed to the secret woods to collect more hardwood. Then I went to the island and cleared out the dig site, mainly because I was still looking for the stupid palm fossil, but didn't get it. I wanted to get Robin's quest over with, so I put 80 hardwood into the woodpile in her shop, then dove into the reset mines where hardwood spawns on the iron levels. My plan worked, and I completed the quest shortly before midnight. While taking care of my animals on day 151, I saw more mystic trees were grown, but since I had given away all the hardwood, I couldn't craft any more heavy tappers at the moment. It was also the day of the luau, but before going, I traded the 70 Omni Geodes I had for more artifact troves. Then I warped to the beach, and the festival once again had a new setup and new dialogue. It's still so refreshing to have new conversations with these guys. The governor was very happy with the gold star cheese I added to the soup, and I got the popular achievement. That night, a new baby cow was born, and I called her Maurice, like Maurice Hillman, who is one of the most influential vaccinologists, developing vaccines for more than 40 diseases, such as measles, mumps, meningitis, hepatitis A and B, and pneumonia. While looking him up, I learned that his measles vaccine alone has saved approximately 1 million lives, which is insane. I got to pick hot peppers, tomatoes, and hops on day 152, and the peach tree was starting to bear fruit, which meant I had plenty of time to get 5 of them before the season was over for the raccoons. Maurice was doing well with the other animals, so I left them to their own devices and went on a trek through the volcano for more cinder shards. That evening, I tried to put a level 2 fairy through the anvil, but just got a level 1 back. I really don't feel like I'm getting very lucky with the stat rerolls, y'all. The melons were fully grown on day 153 and had turned into 2 giant variants. I chopped down one, then filled in all the open spots with more starfruit seeds. Clint opened my artifact troves, and I got the arrowhead, one of the very last artifacts I needed. Alex was hanging out on the island and happy about his birthday rabbit's foot. Then I tried my luck at finding the palm fossil in the bone nodes, but was disappointed again. I was heading back home when I saw Alex was still standing back here. It's kind of sad how they forgot to take him back to the mainland on his birthday. I was so determined to find the last artifact that he even tried to slay the haunted skulls in the quarry mines for it, even though I'm almost 100% sure they don't drop it. But I got a cursed mannequin. Ooh. The description says I should pray it doesn't come to life at night. I'll just put it right here and hope my normal mannequin has a positive influence on it. Day 154, I said good morning to little McCrissy and thought it really did come to life, because it swapped clothes with me. But then I realized that that also happens when you interact with the regular one, which was relieving. This whole interaction made me want to put on a new fit. Then I picked and planted the last round of starfruit on the farm before spending the rest of my day in the Dangerous Skull Caverns with 100 staircases, just to gather iridium and radioactive ore. It went pretty well, but something I only realized while editing was that the mannequin also took my space boots. So I was working with significantly less defense than usual. The parrot had given me almost 20,000 gold by the end of the day, and it looks like I'd have to invest that money in diapers, because our baby boy was delivered, who I named Alan, like Alan Turing, who is sadly persecuted for his homosexuality, but is considered to be the father of modern computer science, created a test that formed the basis of AI, and whose face now adorns the £50 bill in the UK. On day 155, I said hi to Alan and pet his fuzzy little baby head, then gave Carver a Skull Cavern animal cracker. The kegs were ready again, and while taking care of them, I got another frenzy notification. I haven't been mentioning them, but so far I haven't really had a use for them, since they haven't been fish that are worth getting lots of. The oak resin is basically on the same timer as the wine, so I always get to collect more of it on keg days. After buying wood from Robin, I took a look at the special orders board and found the Island Ingredients quest again, but for ginger this time. This is such a ripoff. I still have the taro roots I planted at the very start of my Ginger Island journey, and even had loads of pineapples by now. But you're gonna make me hunt for ginger? I chose the Dorado one instead, took the ticket for the hardwood quest, and got a treasure chest for it from Lewis's machine. The hat mouse sold me the cute paper hat while I was chopping any trees I could find in Cindersap Forest, then I warped to the island. There, I handed in 4 prismatic shards to Key, took his hungry challenge, and got the last crafting recipe he was selling, as well as 2 Junimo chests. Using my oak resin and the wood, I crafted 32 more kegs for the second shed and realized I had made a little mistake while setting them up. But I'll fix it once they're done processing. Made almost 600,000 G that night. Day 156, I used the cinder shards to try enchanting my axe again and got shaving, completing my collection of tools with decent enchants. The final peach I needed for the dehydrator had grown in, so I put them in the machine and hoped the spiceberry jelly would also be ready tomorrow. Then, I fished at the river for Demetrius, turning the Dorados into Dorado bait. I have to say, I'm really enjoying the preserving enchant, now that there are all these cool new bait types and reasons to use different bobbers outside of catching legendary fish, because it all lasts much longer. I had 8 Dorados before I called it quits for the day, then spent my evening handing out gifts. Alex was feeling dumb, and I told him we all have our strengths and weaknesses, but I really feel like he should read some of the books he has. Right before going to bed, I used the Wizard's Book of Summoning and all my wine money to get the Desert Obelisk. I woke up on day 157 to see that the cursed mannequin had moved. I tried my best to move it back, even stripping us both, but it wouldn't budge. At least I unwittingly put my space boots back on. The spiceberry jelly wasn't finished processing, but I gave the raccoons the dried peaches so I didn't accidentally sell them, then worked on completing more of the crafting recipes. I wasn't able to finish and mostly needed more fiber, bug meat, and moss. Luckily, the weather reporter had mentioned an anomalous reading this morning, so the green rain tomorrow would help me with that. And I spent the rest of the day in the mutant bug lair and the mines for bug meat. Alan wasn't alarmed by the green rain on day 158, so I got to work making the most of it and collected fiber and moss. The raccoons got the spiceberry jelly that was ready, and they gifted me a Book of the Stars, that I didn't need since it just gives you experience in all skills. Surprisingly, the raccoon wife had lots more in stock, including a magic rock candy for 20 golden mystery boxes. Now that the farm was full of pathing, not a lot of weeds spawned there, but the iridium scythe was put to the test in Cindersap Forest. I also spent a little time talking to the villagers, who had gotten smarter since last year, as they learned that the green rain was nothing to be afraid of, and thus weren't worried anymore. Harvey even thought it might be good for us because the plants grow so well. That sounds like a logical hypothesis that needs more testing, Harvey. The bookseller Marcilla was back in town, and I traded the Book of the Stars for 8 bags of fairy dust. All the resource collecting was worth it, because by the end of the day, I had collected over 800 pieces of fiber and 300 pieces of moss. It was time for a big starfruit harvest on the island on day 159. Once that was taken care of, I finished catching the last 2 Dorados for Demetrius' quest while standing next to this sign, advertising the trout derby that would be taking place here starting tomorrow. Then I spent some time chopping trees that had grown in yesterday, and got a ticket for completing the quest that I traded for an iridium sprinkler. Linus was taking a pee behind this bush when he told me to remember my impact on the environment while fishing. I mean, you're not wrong, but think about what the ammonia in your urine is doing to the environment too. I had the friendship blessing today, so I decided to make the most of it and hit up everybody at the saloon. Quite a few of my friendships are at max hearts, but others are sorely lacking. After all that resource collecting, I crafted what I could and only needed an oak resin for deluxe speed grow and 3 more pine tars for a rain totem. I also made 2 more treasure totems that I used in the desert and finally got that stupid palm fossil. The second annual Trout Derby was on day 160, but I thought it better to spend my day working on my friendships, since my Statue of Blessings had given me the friendship blessing again, and I still had to convince quite a few people that they loved me. So after giving Gunther the very last artifact and getting my 7th and final star drop, I literally spent the entire day giving gifts to every person I was still missing hearts with. Leah gifted me this lovely art on day 160. Then I saw that Haley wanted a fish in exchange for a ticket, which I thought was a pretty good deal. I got a new fancy houseplant for it that I put down on my farm. Copernicus and I said hi to our old fishing buddies while galloping through the valley looking for the prismatic butterfly. We found it back here next to Joja, and it gave me almost 30,000 G today. By this point, I've bought, planted, and harvested thousands of starfruits, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to keg all of this. but I got a chance to try on day 162 as my kegs were ready to be filled with the next round. My animals were out of hay, and today I got to see the effect of the animal catalog, since it was a Monday. Marnie had a box like Pierre and Gus when they're on the island, which was super amazing. The oak resin tappers were full, and I didn't have many iron bars, but was able to add 11 more kegs to my collection. I took a quick break from being productive to go watch Sam's concert, but then I got right back on it. It was the dwarf's birthday, the NPC who liked me the least at the moment, so I happily gave them a topaz. Then took Clint's cave patrol quest to slay 50 grubs and used a monster musk to get it done quickly. I spent a few hours in the mines thrashing away at bugs, but realized that they didn't count towards the quest. So I went to the shrine on level 120 to get the mines put back to their original state. I wanted to mine iron instead, and realized that the grubs were here now. Oh well, I'll just put it back the way it was tomorrow. That night, I heard a strange sound, and made a little over 800,000 gold. Without noticing it, I had finished the quest yesterday and collected Clint's monetary reward on day 163, then got out of bed and watched the morning news. It was a really lucky day, and the TV screen was glittering, I guess you might say, which I was pretty sure I had never seen before. So, I bought some bombs from the dwarf, munched on a magic rock candy, and headed into the skull caverns, hoping the glittering might be a sign of best luck. The spirits blessed me with many goodies, including but not limited to a brown frog egg, an animal cracker, a galaxy soul, this oasis gown I put on, and the 35,000 G the slain enemies dropped thanks to my parrot trinket. Day 164 was also very lucky, but the TV wasn't glittering, so I guess it wasn't max luck today. I checked out the brown frog trinket in comparison to the green one I had. It's basically what it sounds like and just had a slightly different color, so it looks like frog trinkets don't have different stats or levels, but different appearances. A strange capsule had caused the noise 2 nights ago and had landed next to my fruit trees. Oh, look, more starfruit. After smelting through the iron ore, crafting 20 more kegs, and putting the strange capsule on my front porch, I did another round of gift giving. While in town, I found the ticket from finishing Clint's quest and got 15 bombs for it, and maxed out my friendships with Willie, who got a birthday diamond, and the wizard. He also built me my last 2 obelisks, and using his book of summoning, I swapped the coop and barn around. The barn animals were always bunched up in this one corner, and I felt bad for them every morning and hoped it might help. But then Tyson ran into this corner and wouldn't get out. I hope he'll find his way back into the coop tonight. I also noticed that the pathing stayed under the barn when I put it on top of it, and I feel like that used to be destroyed when you put buildings on it. Evelyn's trash can was hiding the trash hat, so I put it on and gave Copernicus the paper hat. Finally, I wanted to try out something I had seen online, so I threw an ancient doll into the lava pit on level 100 of the mines and got a faraway stone, which I put into this cradle thingy in the wizard's basement and got Meowmere, a cool looking sword. Apparently these are all Terraria references, which I've never played before, but feel like I might want to someday because this cutscene looks amazing. It's a shame Meowmere's stats aren't especially great, because it just went into my Skull Caverns chest with Sam's guitar and Harvey's hammer on day 165. The coop and barn placement switch had turned out to be worth it, because the animals didn't look so cramped anymore, and Tyson was also doing just fine. I took some of my animals' goods and used them to get to work on completing the cooking collection, which I spent most of the day doing. Luckily, I had even kept a few fish for this occasion, but I still needed a few more for various recipes. I even got to cook the only new recipe added, moss soup, but it doesn't do anything special, so I just chucked it in the shipping bin. I also crafted the geode crusher, which now works without coal. I probably still won't use it, but it is a good change. I stole a tea leaf from Caroline for the shipping log, then used different baits to catch some fish I needed. First, I used some largemouth bass bait I still had in a chest to catch 3 for a help wanted quest for Demetrius. I would use 1 to cook crispy bass and gave 1 to Jody, who still hasn't learned how to properly invite people over for dinner in the 1.6 update. Then I caught a sunfish with some deluxe bait I've been getting from my deluxe bait maker and used magic bait to get a sea cucumber and an eel, which I actually needed 2 of, but the second one didn't bite today. Leo got a mango for his birthday on day 166, and after handing out more gifts, I had full hearts with Alex. The raccoons had a new baby and wanted dried coconut and an apple jelly. Anything for you, you cuties. 2 pine tar tappers were full, so I was able to craft a rain totem with them. Then I put coconuts into the dehydrator and the preserves jars were still full, but I had an apple I put in the chest so I wouldn't forget to make the jelly. Up until this point, I keep forgetting fairy dust is a thing, and I actually have quite a bit in a chest somewhere, but I never think to use it for these raccoon quests. Then I just fished for more fish, including a bream and 4 carps to be able to cook a carp surprise and a baked fish. Various crops were fully grown and picked on day 167, but I didn't plant anything else since summer would soon turn to fall. Upping my friendships also means I keep getting more and more cooking recipes in the mail, and today I cooked a fish taco, a strange bun, a rhubarb pie, and a mango sticky rice. Shane introduced me to his blue chickens, so I decided to buy one that I named Moisiati, like Stefan Moisiati, a scientist who works in the field of genetic engineering, has created glow-in-the-dark animals, and whose ultimate goal is to find new ways to produce medicines through genetic manipulation techniques. Leah only needed a bit of persuasion from Linus to move to the valley, then I found a prismatic butterfly at the ocean and made sure to pick up a clam I had been missing from my cooking spree while I was there. I was tired of looking like a garbage can, so I bought a new pageboy cap from the Hat Mouse, but gave the trash hat to Einstein. After cooking and shipping the clam chowder, I wanted to make a few changes to the farm, and started by taking down some pathing. That night, the parrots built Leo's new house in the valley. Alan was big enough to be thrown on day 168. I had heard that you can now crit while tossing your baby up into the air, so I tried for way too long, but nothing happened. I hope it didn't have an impact on his IQ. I harvested the last summer crops, then found my preserves jars full of pickles and added an apple to one of them, still ignoring fairy dust. Then it was back to the usual gift giving, maxing out Pierre's friendship today. I put down some pathing before it was time for the dance of the moonlight jellies. As has been the case for the last festivals, this year everybody had new stuff to say, so it was especially enjoyable to talk to everyone before watching the little glowing jellyfish float by. After hoeing and watering the fields on the first day of fall, I realized the kegs were ready and put in hundreds more starfruits. Then I bought 24 of each crop as well as loads of pumpkins and sold the wines to Pierre. I wanted to get the giant pumpkin on this crop field in front of my house, then remembered I still needed a few beets for cooking purposes, so I bought some from Sandy and planted them down here. Once all the sprinkler spots were covered in seeds, I picked up all the oak resin and came back down from the mountain to find this hideous opossum-looking thing jump into a bush. Using the resin, I crafted 24 more kegs and added them to the quarry. It's a good problem to have, but whenever I feel like I've made a small dent in my starfruit stash, there's more waiting to be picked. I gave some animal crackers I had found to Mary, Moisiati, and Faraday before opening over 80 Omni Geodes and 13 golden mystery boxes at Clint's, and buying almost 200 iron ores to smelt. Caroline finally decided to grace me with the quest to harvest and ship 100 taro roots. You know, just 90 days after I hoped she would. I also decided to plant the taro roots I had in a chest, hoping Caroline might ask for 100 of them for her island ingredients quest soon. Penny's friendship was all taken care of when I gave her an emerald for her birthday, then I harvested the dang taro roots and had exactly 99. Great. I took down the pineapples for more room for starfruit seeds and planted more taro, then took Key's Hungry Challenge. Clint wanted someone to collect 40 copper ores for inspection, so I did that for him, but I forgot to talk to him, then went into the iron levels for more iron. Day 171 was a very lucky day, so I decided to knock out the Hungry Challenge quest right away. I dove into the Skull Caverns and made it to level 100 by 9 PM and stayed there for the rest of the day. The next day, Tyson got an animal cracker from the Skull Caverns, then I found the apple jelly in my preserves jar. On my way to the raccoons, I found Petty and the kids having a picnic who wanted a little lesson from me. I told them country life is all about gathering forage and minerals in the mines, but only because there was no option to talk about the socio-economic, environmental, and philosophical complexities of it all. The raccoons gave me 7 more fairy dust for my efforts, then I fished for salmon I needed for cooking. Most of the things I haven't cooked so far require some kind of fall crop, including the salmon dinner, which calls for an amaranth, so I just put the fish in the fridge for now. On the island, I checked the perfection tracker, 82%. Some friendships, crafting, cooking, a little bit of shipping, and the golden clock were missing, but I knew I was close to completing a lot of these things, so I wasn't too worried about reaching perfection this year. I shipped hundreds of gold, iridium, and radioactive bars, bought more starfruit seeds, and found a new shirt in a dig spot that I put on. After planting the seeds on Ginger Island, I had the teensiest bit of time left in the day to put down some pathing around the keg shed. Made almost $500,000 that night. Radioactive bars are crazy profitable. The bok choys had grown in on day 173 and were replaced with broccoli seeds. After putting a couple of the crops into my fridge and shipping the rest, I spent some time chopping wood and hardwood. Elliot got a birthday pomegranate, maxing out his hearts. I had been salty about having bought the movie theater for $500,000 but not being able to use it to boost my friendships, so I decided to troubleshoot and tried going alone first, which strangely worked without any problems. Okay, maybe not all hope is lost. I planted some mahogany tree seeds on the island with some tree fertilizer, and can't remember why I wanted more hardwood at this point, but I think maybe for braziers and fences for farm beautification purposes. Then I crafted 2 more dehydrators and would start to dehydrate forage for supplemental income from now on. I said good morning to my brainy little family on day 174, then harvested the fully grown eggplants that I used to cook eggplant parmesan and a survival burger. I wanted to give an animal cracker I had found to one of my animals, but almost all of them had already eaten one. Here, Goodall, I hope you like it. After harvesting the greenhouse ancient fruit, I decided to ship a lot of the stuff in my kegging chest, since I can normally only keg the star fruit anyways. Then handed out some more gifts, getting jazzed to full hearts. By the way, every time I try to find Leo to give him a gift, he's never in town, which I find kind of strange. I spent the rest of the day decorating a bit, putting bluegrass that looks more like purple in fall under some fences, but giving the animals the regular old grass to eat, and putting down some lights. All the produce I shipped made me 350,000 G. The beets were ready on day 175, and the traveling cart lady was finally selling the Junimo catalog again, so I bought it. There was a tiger trout frenzy going on in Cindersap Forest, so I fished there for a while, but only caught 2 before it was over, then planted some random artichoke and pumpkin seeds I had in a chest. I finally took the time to plant the new mossy tree seeds around the farm, then used a rain totem so I'd be able to catch an eel tomorrow, and caught a sardine today to cook a dish of the sea. I looked at the new stuff in the Junimo catalog and wanted to use some of it to decorate down here, where I had put my obelisks. I put down some pathing and saw that the big Junimo hut really is huge. I only got this far before it was time for bed. Cranberries and amaranth were ready to be picked on day 176, and it was another day of taking care of the kegs and making 31 more with the new batch of oak resin. Linus was looking for a purple mushroom, and Pierre wanted me to ship 25 gold star veggies. I caught an eel, then remembered that fairy dust is a thing, and used it to get 28 wines right away and kegged even more star fruit. Linus gave me a ticket for the purple mushroom, which got me some mystery boxes, and then I just spent the last hours of the day cooking a bit more. Made over 1,000,000 gold all at once for the first time in this playthrough. Day 177, the artichokes were ready. Luckily, I had a few gold star veggies in my kegging chest, so I shipped 25 of them for Pierre's Prime Produce quest. Now, you might be thinking, shouldn't they be put in the box in Pierre's shop? And you would be right, but I didn't realize that at this point, so just leave me alone, okay? After cooking an artichoke dip and a super meal, the taro roots were finally grown, and I finished Caroline's Island Ingredients quest, meaning I would get the final crafting recipe, a solar panel, in the mail tomorrow. It took a while, but I fished with magic bait at the ocean until I had a squid, then got another ticket for finishing Caroline's quest, which I traded for fairy dust. And I really wanted the tea coming up. After turning the squid into fried calamari, I added 3 more empty signs to the scientific journal to finish it off. Sadly, I've read all the books, but I've decided I'll add information when inspiration hits me. Then, I took my catalog collection outside and put down more decorations. To be honest, I can't decide if it's just starting to look chaotic with all these different furniture sets or not, but I'm just going to have to trust my intuition. Caroline sent me the solar panel recipe in the mail the next day, and I crafted it right away, then freaked out about not getting the crafting completion notification. I double and triple checked if I had crafted everything else, then checked the tracker at keys and saw I was only at 99% crafted. I scoured every single shop I could think of, thinking maybe something was added in 1.6 that I hadn't seen yet, before finally realizing I hadn't gotten the final house upgrade yet, which gives you the cask recipe. Thank goodness, that's an easy fix. After opening some more mystery boxes I had lying around, I went on another gifting spree. Leo, where are you? Day 179, the yams were grown. After catching another prismatic butterfly, I handed Jody a birthday diamond and was able to max out hers and Kroby's hearts today. Surprise, surprise, Leo was on the island. What do you mean it felt strange at first? Apparently you never left here. I took care of the starfruit on the island farm and chopped the mahogany trees before asking the dwarf to go to the movies with me. I saw Morris there, who said he wouldn't give me a return on my investment, which was a bummer. Today, I tried not getting a snack, and it worked, and we watched the movie without any hitches. It made me happy that it wasn't a complete waste of money after all. Then, I just decorated a bit around the mystic trees before hitting the hay. Jody sent me the last cooking recipe I needed on day 180. Ice cream. The raccoons had had another baby and wanted 5 snails and a smoked salmon. I checked my chests, but only had 2 snails stashed away in the fridge, so I rebaited the crab pots to catch some more. I only accidentally stumbled into Elliot's book reading while looking for the island boy, but it was nice to listen to a new story and have a book dedicated to me. Leo wasn't there, go figure, so I gave up and fished for a salmon and smoked it for the raccoons, then downed a ginger ale and a lucky lunch and gambled at the casino. The luck buffs worked their magic, getting me a triple star drop, so I had more than enough to get the last wallpaper and all the hardwood fences and fireworks I could. Interestingly, the number of fences you can get is now limited, but it used to be a grindy way to get infinite money. I tried decorating Alan's room for a bit, and he got his own little bookcase, but I wasn't quite finished before going to bed for the night. I spent the morning of day 181 decorating a bit more for Alan, then went to look for a different little boy. Hello, Leo. Funny seeing you here in the jungle. I realized Robin was gone and completed my crafting collection with a cask, inching ever closer to perfection. I put an extra parrot egg I had in a chest into the anvil 3 times until it finally gave me a level 4 parrot. Nice. Then I felt like doing some challenge fishing, so I crafted some bait and 2 cork bobbers, took my fish smokers to the river, and ate a seafoam pudding I had lying around before fishing there for a few hours. Then moved to the ocean for the valuable nightfish, although I'm not good enough to catch lots of super cucumbers. The cursed mannequin moved a little bit again and looked like it was threatening the normal one on day 182. Alan had started crawling, and I'm pretty sure I've heard that early crawlers are especially intelligent. It was a lucky day, so I headed to the Skull Caverns for more ores. It went pretty well, and I passed it on level 189. Here's a little peek at my inventory the next morning. I started off day 183 by wishing Sandy a happy birthday and was able to harvest loads of artichokes and pumpkins, but left these in the ground so they might turn giant. Also, today was the day I finally realized I had to put the veggies in Pierre's box, so after finding a snail in the crab pots, I finished his quest, just in time for the Stardew Valley fair tomorrow, so he has good stuff for his Grange display. Lewis wanted someone to ship 100 artichokes, and I'm doing these quests for the tickets more than anything, now that I have all the crafting recipes. So, once I had taken care of the kegs, I planted as many artichoke seeds as I could, and on my way to collect oak resin from the Tapper farm, I got this cutscene with Leo that I normally really like, but it felt kind of strange to watch his journey about adapting to his life in the valley when he's never here. Using the pumpkins from this morning, I was able to cook the very last recipes, getting the Gourmet Chef achievement, and I shipped them along with the 340 starfruit wines and several radioactive and iridium bars. Why do you have to shun us, Leo? Made over 1 million gold again. The cursed mannequin was on the move again on day 184. Kind of like the king in a game of chess, always one tile at a time. The Stardew Valley Fair was on in Town Square again, and this year I filled my Grange display with my most prized possessions of this playthrough. All kinds of new discoveries I had the pleasure to make in the 1.6 update. As always, it was a treat to talk to everyone and read their new dialogue, and some things had moved around a bit. The burgers were down here now this year, so I had time to watch Lewis finish up the judging. Last place? Wow, looks like Lewis doesn't care about learning new things at all. The good thing was I didn't need many tokens anyway, since I only wanted the prize ticket, so after fishing for a bit, I tried my hand at the slingshot game and was super bad. Then bet on green until I was able to get it, and even had enough tokens for an espresso too. The next day, the crab pots were not giving me the snails I needed for the raccoons, which made me sad. George wanted a refined quartz, and that was totally fine by me. As you can see, he was one of the few people who had refused to accept me as their best friend by now, and I took it as a sign to hand out more gifts today, getting George, Evelyn, and Leo up to full hearts. I had 2 tickets to trade in for 5 spicy eels and this cute new houseplant, and was so close to getting that OPT. I also couldn't forget about making more money, so I fished with challenge bait and smoked my haul until I ran out of coal, and found another big starfruit harvest waiting for me on the island. Day 186 was a big friendship day. First, Rachel dropped a clam, and I saw that she loved me. Then I got the last 2 snails I needed, finishing the raccoon bundle and getting a star drop tea. Today I took a look at the new pricey home renovation options at Robin's. You can't add any extra rooms for free anymore, but there are also new rooms to add, and since the cubby costed the least, I added it to the house. I also got a third pet bull, then opened some geodes and gold mystery boxes at Clint's before buying a wildly overpriced purple turtle, despite Marnie not being there. I called him Hubble, like Edwin Hubble, who discovered that there are galaxies beyond our own little Milky Way. I found Marnie at the doctor's office, where Mario was working, and hit me with a "Hi, honey." That's new. It was her birthday, and thanks to the diamond I gave her, she was up to full hearts. Then I watched a movie with the dwarf and even bought a snack. It all worked without any problems, so I don't know what was going on. The important thing was that they were at full hearts too. I dropped off 4 prismatic shards at Key's box and used his gems to get Pierre's missing stock list, then saw I was at 89% perfection. I was still missing Kent's love, had to ship a single morel, and get the golden clock. So, I moved the mushroom logs to the railroad, since apparently they're more likely to give you morels when they're placed next to oak trees, then gave Kent an iridium quality rabbit's foot and a Stardrop tea, wooing the very last person of this playthrough. Hey Hubble, welcome to the farm. Don't get too close to this mannequin. I found some pepper poppers in the mail from Shane on day 187, and with a nice swig of triple shot espresso, I was especially speedy while taking care of my farm chores. Pierre was asking for a ridiculous amount of money for my produce when I came to give him his missing stock list. He told me it was his dream to become wealthy, which made me feel less bad about choosing Joja. They're all the same at the end of the day. I had a few extra books that I traded for different stuff at the bookseller, who was in town today, getting fairy dust, coal, monster musk, and mystery boxes. Then I spent most of the day trying out different decorations for the kitchen. I realized I hadn't gotten the regular old wallpaper catalog yet, so Copernicus took me back to Pierre's where I bought it. It contains new wallpapers and floorings, and I spent a long time trying them out in my home. I was still hoping I'd be able to make this dining table work, and also did a little decorating in the new cubby. Day 188 was a super lucky day, and since I had accumulated hundreds of espressos and coffees by now, I decided to swap out my hot Java ring for the napalm ring I had gotten for slaying 150 serpents. Then I spent the whole day in the skull caverns, hoping for loads of ores to smelt into bars and ship for as much moolah as possible. I did just that on day 189, since I had collected a good amount of radioactive and iridium ore. The mushroom logs had sprouted loads of morels that I shipped right away as the last thing needed for the shipping log. After selling some old gear to Marlin, I decorated our home a bit more, first in the kitchen, then made a little study with books for Mara and me. That night, the random stuff I shipped made me a nice chunk of change. Full shipment. Now I just needed to focus on the golden clock. And lucky me, the kegs were ready. I sold the wine and some random crops that I couldn't process fast enough to Pierre, putting me at over 5.5 million gold. Then I did some math. The golden clock costs 10 million gold and makes up 10% of perfection. But instead, I could buy 10 perfection waivers from Fizz, which are supposed to count for 1% towards perfection and only cost 500,000 gold each. I decided it was the only logical and financially smart thing to do, and checked the perfection tracker. It said 90% plus 10 waivers, so I would just have to hope that it worked. After taking Key's cuisine quest, I checked which achievements I was still missing. Polyculture, which is shipping 15 of each crop, Good Neighbors, which is growing the raccoon family, plus this mystery one. I took a quick look at the crops I had shipped and saw I was missing a single tomato, 12 more wheat, 11 more grapes, and 14 more coffee beans. It was already late and Pierre's was closed, but I finally remembered Joja was a supermarket, and bought 15 wheat seeds. By the way, I totally skipped over the Joja catalog I will forget to buy in this playthrough, but I don't like the Joja furniture anyways, so it's fine I guess. I had the grapes and coffee beans at home and planted the wheat on the island. I also had a tomato I could have shipped, but I was distracted when I decided I wanted to decorate a bit more, and also remembered you can put new stuff in the fish tanks, like ancient swords, anchors, and clams. You can also add other stuff like pearls and treasure chests, but I didn't have those on hand. I woke up to the perfection notification on day 191. It actually felt strange to get perfection so early. I mean, I hadn't finished decorating my farm the way I wanted it, my house was still a mess, and I was certain there were still discoveries to be made. While doing my farm chores, I contemplated for a bit and decided I would at least play the full 200 days you were promised when you clicked on this video. So I'll do my usual perfection celebration then, and if you're a lifelong learning lover like me, you definitely won't want to miss it. Copernicus and I headed to the summit and got the mystery achievement. Perfection. The newly overhauled cutscene now includes all of your pets, the goby, and this iridium golem and truffle-looking rock crab I hadn't encountered in this playthrough. I was curious and looked at the Steam achievements. Only 0.4% of people have gotten their perfection achievement, and I wondered if you got it if you started 1.6 on a farm where you already reached perfection. Then, I used the hundreds of coffees I had to cook fresh triple shot espressos, and cooked whatever else I could for Mr. Key's quest, and gave Willie a largemouth bass for a ticket that got me the tea I didn't need anymore. I went to Marnie to stock up on hay, still loving the animal catalog, and bought a golden egg, which is a first for me, since I normally stop playing once I've achieved perfection. I also bought a new cat tower for Einstein, and 3 new hats from the hat mouse I didn't have yet, the Infinity Crown, the Jester hat, and the Junimo hat. I went with the crown for myself, gave Copernicus the Jester hat, and Einstein got the Junimo hat. Other than that, I just incubated the egg and planted some fiber seeds on the empty sprinkler spots before heading to bed. Day 192, I had successfully finished Lewis's crop order and saw that the food I shipped yesterday earned me almost 90,000 G, so I only had a little bit left to cook for Key. I moved the regular mannequin over here and gave it a little makeover, then put the shipping bin I got from Lewis in my animal area. I had 182 mussels from the Shelly Stones on the island I was able to turn into 182 freshly cooked sashimi, then picked up the Statue of True Perfection before getting the regular old Statue of Perfection. That's another first for me. I spent the day decorating a bit in this upper left room and planted some mushroom tree seeds around the farm. That night, the sashimis gave me the last profits I needed to complete Key's Hungry Challenge. It's nice to wake up to a prismatic shard waiting for you every morning, and they also make Maru happy. I gave Alan a few Junimo friends, since he's kind of a loner. Then I bought all the new rooms from Robin, although I did have to move some stuff for us to be able to get the dining room and the attic. Honestly, Robin could have given me a friendship discount. We are family after all, but whatever. The house was now obscenely humongous, and I spent the day decorating more. I primarily focused on the kitchen and dining room, and was happy to have the perfect spot for a table full of spirits. I also went back to basics and made sure to plunk down a few decorative plants. After finishing up the kitchen on day 194, I decorated the attic, turning it into a big library with windows so I could combine my love of reading and Mara's love of stargazing. Before heading to bed, I harvested and shipped the wheat that was fully grown on the island. More decorating on day 195. I started by finally changing this little piece of rebellious wallpaper I always forget to swap out. I didn't have nearly enough key coins to get more of the wallpaper that was in Alan's room, so this one will have to do. Then I decided to work on the southern room, making it feel woodsy and cozy. But it felt too leafy at some point, so I did swap some things here and there. It was time for the second annual Spirits Eve festival, and Pierre's shop had these awesome new spiderweb decorations. Everyone had new things to say. Gus taught me a new recipe for pumpkin seeds, Demetrius taught me what effects music can have on fear levels, and Elliot used a big word I didn't know, so I looked it up as to not feel inadequate. Fetid. Having a heavy offensive smell. Looks like it's especially used in British English, which makes me feel a little less dumb. The maze had a new layout, and it's so nice to finally be challenged a bit again, since most of us can do the regular maze in our sleep. When I found Sebastian, he just said, "This is my spot." Okay. And Sam was super creepy for no reason, which is a really interesting choice. Of course, there was a ticket instead of the usual golden pumpkin waiting for me in the chest at the end of it. That was fun. Sadly, I didn't get a giant pumpkin to complete my giant crop collection, and since it was the last day of the season, I had to harvest everything before it died tomorrow. I always feel kind of bad for the animals, who won't get to see the sky for a whole month, so I hope they're smart enough to know they should really enjoy this last day outside they'll have for a while. I had 2 tickets to trade for a treasure chest and an iridium sprinkler. Instead of shipping it, I put it in a fish tank at home. The raccoons were still hungry and wanted pickled snow yam and a winter root juice. At least I remembered I had fairy dust and got both of them right away. But I still wasn't granted the good neighbor achievement. How many babies are they gonna have? Other than that, I put down more pathing around the farm and shipped the last tomato needed for the polyculture achievement. On the first day of winter, a glittering gold chick hatched that I named JJ, like JJ Thomson, a British physicist who made the revolutionary discovery of electrons. I'm not gonna lie, she didn't look particularly glittery at the moment, but I was looking forward to what she would look like when she was fully grown. The ancient fruits and wines were ready, which I sold to Pierre. I was completely out of wood, so I chopped down any tree I could find in Cindersap Forest, then planted an assortment of tree seeds along this path where my fruit trees once stood. After a satisfying fiber harvest on day 198, I planted more fiber and winter forage seeds, then saw a purple bird at the bus stop, and I think they're a new addition to the game. That wasn't the only rare bird sighting today. Leo was actually here in Pelican Town. I handed in 24 eggs to the fridge of the saloon, but because Gus wanted to make a second giant omelet, and the ticket got me another fancy houseplant. I didn't have a lot of moss, but was able to craft a few more bits of bluegrass that I planted down here. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but grass doesn't die in winter anymore, which is nice. I fertilized the tree seeds I had planted, then put down more pathing and grass around the farm. While doing that, I noticed the star drop above Grandpa's grave was glitching out, and I hope it's not a bad omen. I had to wrestle with Hubble to get to this panning spot on steroids, and after putting down more random paths, fences, and grass, the cursed mannequin was shaking when I went inside to go to bed. Well, that's terrifying. Day 199, I made sure that my family was still alive after last night's creepy events, but everyone was accounted for, so there was no need to panic. I spotted a whole flock of the new purple birds, which was neat, then used some perfection things to fill in the last 3 empty signs of my scientific journal. A prismatic shard from my statue of true perfection inspired me to look up the rarest gems in real life, which are blue diamonds, priced at $3.7 million per carat. The golden egg went on this sign and was dedicated to I am Samani chickens, which are the rarest breed of chicken in the world and have black feathers, meat, and bones, although their eggs are just a cream white color. And after picking up Concerned Ape's mask, I gave it its own sign that says that the first video game was developed by a physicist, namely William Higginbotham, who created something similar to Pong in 1958. I spent the last hours of the day decorating the last, biggest, and most daunting room in my house. It's day 200, and to celebrate perfection and making it this far, it's time to educate the people. Welcome to Useless Facts You Didn't Know, inspired by random doohickeys from my chests, with your host, Mimi, in her new and improved scientist outfit. There are no lab coats in this game, so this button-up shirt will have to do. I hope you have a pen and paper, because it's time to learn. Truffles smell so strongly so they'll be found and eaten, since they grow underground and rely on animals to distribute their spores. Ancient batteries, also called Baghdad batteries, were created before 750 AD. Worms, leeches, minnows, crickets, and grasshoppers are all used as different types of bait. Hey yourself, you little cutie! Cookie Monster eats rice cakes, not cookies, because the oils would damage the puppet. Some arrows can travel as fast as a race car, up to 300 miles per hour. That's 480 kilometers per hour for all the non-Americans out there. Cacti photosynthesize in reverse. It's called crassulation acid metabolism, and they gather carbon dioxide at night instead of during the day to reduce the amount of water they lose. The color orange gets its name from the fruit in English, not vice versa. And before that, the color was just called yellow-red. Quick in-game fun fact, you can now staircase into Lewis's basement and be haunted by his purple shorts. Speaking of which, King Tut was buried with 145 pairs of underwear. Cenosilicophobia, the fear of an empty glass when drinking. Tree tents are like people pods. Reflex hammers doctors use on your knees originated from wine growers thumping casks, who wanted to check how much wine was still in them. Bananas are considered bad luck on a boat, because in the 17th century when trade ships sank, people only saw the fruits floating in the wreckage and thought they had caused it to happen. Cave slime is a biofilm, consisting of bacteria, fungi, and algae. In 1991, the 25 millionth shrimp cocktail was sold in the Golden Gate Casino in Las Vegas, and they had a huge event for it and raised the price for the first time in 40 years, from 50 to 99 cents. Now you have to pay $10 for it. Talk about inflation. Squids use their ink for a number of different reasons, but mainly concealment, confusion, distraction, and interference. In case you did accidentally take bananas onto a boat, you can eat pork, 12 grapes, a pomegranate, fish, noodles, cake, cornbread, or any other lucky foods on New Year's Eve to counteract the negative effects. Coca-Cola isn't sold in Cuba or North Korea. You eat or drink soup depending on your language. For example, in English, you normally say you eat it, while in Arabic, you say you drink it. Artichokes are thistles related to daisies and sunflowers. It's physically impossible, but if you could fold paper 42 times, it would reach the moon, which is 238,855 miles, or 384,400 kilometers away. Egg whites used to be whipped with twigs before the whisk was invented, and it could take up to an hour to get the job done. Michigan State University used 1,250 gallons of spoiled mayo in their anaerobic digester to create biogas, which in turn was combusted into heat and electricity. Redheads are more likely to be left-handed, since just like red hair, left-handedness is a recessive trait, and those often come in pairs. Chicago was named after a Native American word for garlic, Allium tricoccum. The word news anchor is derived from relay racing, where the anchor-like position is given to the fastest or most experienced person. And finally, the triple X's on moonshine refer to the triple-step distillation process that made it almost 100% pure alcohol. So, I know I said I would play for 200 days, but I just couldn't end it there. It felt wrong to stop playing in the middle of the year and without having gotten Grandpa's full approval. So I decided to finish the year and play the next 24 days. But that just means there's a second celebration coming up very soon that you can look forward to. Evelyn sent me cookies in the mail that I put on our kitchen table. JJ was fully grown and looking pretty majestic, and I incubated one of her eggs and mayoed the rest. Want to know what else is new about Lewis's purple shorts? They can now be put into fish tanks. It made me very happy to see that Mari was enjoying the library, and I wanted to finish up decorating the rest of the house, but Alan decided to play right where I wanted to beautify it. You stubborn little rascal. As you can see, I keep tearing down my decorations, which is why this always takes me so long. I picked up exactly where I had left off the next day, but some of the areas kind of had me stumped on what to do with them. So I went to go buy more decorations to see if they inspired me. First, I got another jungle fish tank for 5 broken glasses that I put right here, and I tried getting another cursed mannequin, but the haunted skulls didn't drop one, so instead I warped to the desert, where I bought 3 regular ones, as well as a clothesline and a hat stand from Sandy, and a statue of Endless Fortune from this sketchy dude, because why not? Day 203, I put down the mannequins and dressed them up, except for this one for some reason, and was disappointed to find you can't put the clothesline inside, which I think is the first decoration that can only be put outside. My statue of Endless Fortune went next to its True Perfection buddy, the alien rarecrows went next to the mannequins, and after giving JJ an animal cracker I had lying around, I put the clothesline right here. I got the achievement Good Neighbor while galloping into Cindersap Forest, but they still wanted a bundle of dried purple mushrooms and 5 cave carrots. I had several purple mushrooms in a chest, but not 5 of the same quality. So I headed into the mines to unsuccessfully look for a mushroom floor. In hindsight, this probably would have been another situation where a little fairy dust on the mushroom logs would have been smarter, but oh well. It was more of the same on day 204 when I got a reminder that the ice fishing competition was going on today, so I decided to go and have some fun and enjoy the new dialogue and setup. Jas was wondering if the fish get cold, and I thought that was a good question, so I did some research. Fish do get cold, but it's relative, since each type of fish has a different preference for how warm or cold the water should be. Fish are cold-blooded, so they can't warm themselves up and have developed different ways of adapting, such as migrating or hibernating. And the Oppa has even evolved to become the only warm-blooded fish in the world. I couldn't agree more with Marnie, the pig looks amazing. I fished while Maru cheered me on from the sidelines and won a ticket. Once it was over, I went back into the mines, but only to turn on the dangerous versions again, since I was kind of missing the challenge. So much wine that I don't need. The mushroom log sprouted purple mushrooms on day 205 that I dried for the raccoons. It's always nice to see the pets hanging out together in the cold morning sun. I did some more decorating and was kind of unhappy with this living room setup, so I tried out different floorings and wallpapers and liked this combination, but then I saw the wallpaper was redundant with Alan's flooring, and obviously that won't do, so I ended up giving him this purple flooring instead. I'll spare you the rest of the details and just show you my results by the end of the day. On day 206, I gave the raccoons their mushrooms and cave carrots and just got another Book of the Stars, which I thought was kind of an anticlimactic ending to the raccoon saga, not knowing I still had one final wonderful surprise from them in store. Then I bought 2 new hats from the Hat Mouse, the new white bow, which you get for the Good Neighbors achievement, and an elegant turban that's unlocked when you complete every achievement in the game. Another golden chicken hatched on day 207, and I named it Mendel, like Gregor Mendel, who was an Austrian monk and botanist and discovered the basic mathematical principles of genetics. I can relate, Mendel. It is a strange but interesting world we live in. I gave the desert trader 15 iridium bars in exchange for the midnight beach bed for Alan, which might honestly be a waste, since he never sleeps anyways. And seeing the dark piano made me change my mining profession to prospector, so I'd get more coal. I spent the rest of the day in the mines, gathering it, where I found a veil. After spending all of day 208 in the skull caverns, I decided collecting the 999 coal would take too long, and just bought the rest of what I needed off of Clint. After getting the dark piano, I took the opportunity to decorate outside, making sure it was Copernicus friendly. More decorating on day 210. These little lanterns now light up, and I decided to put them between the fully grown trees. Alan was big enough to wear a hat, and I decided to give him the big white bow. Then I just plunked down more bits and bobs and really enjoyed how this little path looks all lit up at night. On day 211, I walked into this masterpiece of a cutscene. For the first time in a long time, I was really sad I didn't have the music on. Doesn't this just make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside? The fish tanks in my home were very empty, so I used some magic bait and fished for random fish before heading to the night market, where I bought a variety of seasonal plants, Lupini's painting, and the upright piano. Here, little fishies, welcome to your new home. Nothing much happened on day 212. After doing the tiniest bit more decorating on the farm, using the new birdhouse decoration from Marnie, I bought Pam a house, then did some night market fishing, just for the fun of it. Day 213 was dedicated to picking up some of the secret statues around town. First, I ate a seafoam pudding that I cooked with key seasoning to fish for the Iridium Krobus statue hiding in the sewage, then traded Vincent a strange bun for his Ferogamon and Gus a duck mayo for Pinky Lemon. While I was at the saloon, I felt like playing a bit of Junimo Kart and saw that the Gemsea Giant level has been made way easier than it used to be. The whale doesn't blow nearly as many bubbles as it used to, and I hope this change will help more people find the joy in this game. Not that it's a walk in the park now or anything. Finally, I took a super cucumber to the box behind Clint's shop to pick up to goof. Once I had found spots for my new buddies around the farm and sprinkled some of the seasonal plants wherever I felt like on day 214, I decided to use the last few days of this playthrough to decorate the island farm. I wasn't able to make much progress today, only reorganizing the sprinklers with pressure nozzles. I took a quick break on day 215 to go on a Skull Caverns run and gather radioactive ore, but on day 216, after wondering if Pam had already been inside the new house or if Robin was just being shady when she added the bottles to the awning of the front door, I got right back to work. First, I planted 2 rows of different fruit trees I had amassed over the past 2 years, then crafted 81 hyperspeed grows with the radioactive ore and filled up the whole crop area with pumpkin seeds. My plan was to try to grow a giant one on the island since I didn't get one on the mainland farm. But right as I had planted them all, I remembered that giant crops don't grow on Ginger Island. But who knows, maybe that'll have been changed in the update. On day 217, I put down some pathing, but had to leave out the area around my fruit trees while they were still growing in. I had even more fruit tree saplings that I shoved into the sandy beach soil and used my mixed flower seeds on these little quality sprinkler spots. Then I spent the rest of the day decorating the beach, trying to make it a relaxing place to read by adding tables and chairs, an array of decorative plants, and cozy lighting sources. Something new popped out of Evelyn's trash can on day 218. A trash catalog. Geez, 2 years in and still finding new stuff. Marcelo was in town and I wanted to buy out his whole stock and use the books as decorations. Oopsie. Of course, I also wanted to check out the new furniture catalog, and as a trashcore lover in Animal Crossing, I really enjoyed all the different options to choose from and used quite a bit of them. I'd like to imagine someone changed into their swimwear here, and over here, people were enjoying a nice beverage or two with their favorite books. I also added a plastic lawn chair and a little table to the front of the island farmhouse before warping back to the mainland. There, I used the books to make a little display at home, then put back on my scientist goggles to finish off the year in style. Here's a short and sweet tour of how my home turned out after all that decorating. All in all, I'm pretty happy with it and still can't really believe how much of this wasn't even in the game before the update. Day 219 marked the start of my 5-day hibernation. I only got out of bed once to go to the Feast of the Winter Star, excited for the new dialogue. Penny asked me what I wanted, and I told her a new book, obviously, and poor Sam was gifted a JoJo's shopping basket. Jody got a prismatic shard from me, and Alex gave me a boring but well-meant ruby. We made it, y'all. The last day of the year. The cursed mannequin had vanished, and I found it in the library. Maybe our smart family was starting to rub off on it. I hugged my family, my pets, and my genius animals one last time, then reminisced about all that I had learned. For the rest of the day, I lounged on the beach and watched the sunset, before it was time for one big final celebration of the 1.6 update and all the new and exciting content we were given. That night, Grandpa finally visited me in my sleep and told me he was proud of me. And the next day, 4 candles lit up around his flickering Stardrop shrine. There you have it. 2 whole years discovering as much as I can in the 1.6 update. I know for a fact that there are loads of things that I didn't get to see in this playthrough. Different ticket machine prizes, the whole Meadowlands farm, all the JoJo furniture, secret cutscenes from Going Out of Bounds, and probably so much more. What I also know is that I had a blast, and still can't believe how it went from being an update for modders to this huge free DLC. As always, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye y'all.